Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm excited to guide you through creating a comprehensive Power BI dashboard tailored for a call center at a telecom company. We'll dive into the entire process: importing data, crafting insightful measures, building dynamic visuals, applying conditional formatting, and setting up drill-through capabilities. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your skills, this step-by-step tutorial is designed to offer hands-on experience and practical insights into Power BI. Also, a bit about myself: I bring 10 years of experience in different roles in the call center industry, including working as a data analyst and senior analyst. This means that along with learning how to use Power BI to create a dashboard, you'll gain practical insights into the call center industry from an expert. You will understand the key performance indicators or KPIs that managers focus on and see how the work we do in this tutorial mirrors the actual work I've done in telecom companies throughout my career. By the end of this session, you will not only have practiced the art of building a powerful dashboard, but also completed a project that you can proudly add to your portfolio. This project is an excellent way to demonstrate your expertise to potential employers or clients, helping you stand out in the competitive field of data analytics. So get ready to embark on this journey with me. Grab your laptop, download the project files from the link below, and open Power BI. Together, we'll create an impressive call center dashboard. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with my latest tutorials. Let's dive in and start this exciting journey. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's get a quick overview of our project. So you work for Infinity Communications as a data analyst, and you have been assigned to create a Power BI dashboard that summarizes and visualizes the key performance indicators or KPIs for the call center. So the dashboard should compare the current metrics to the same period from the previous year and include conditional formatting where applicable. Additionally, the dashboard should allow for detailed analysis of performance at hourly intervals. And the dashboard will also be expanded at a later stage to include the detailed performance analysis of the agents that work in the call center. And there is also a request here for the filters, so please allow for filters by month, year, and department. So this was the request that has been assigned to you as an analyst or as a data analyst who works for Infinity Communications. So this is the dashboard here that we created and that we're gonna show how to create step by step. So as you can see here, we have filters or slicers here at the top for the year and for the month, and we also have filters or slicers here for the different departments. You can also see here that we have some KPI cards here for the main metrics and KPIs for the call centers. So the calls answered, actual over forecast. So this is the ratio between the actual calls that we've received to the forecasted calls. This is an important metric to see how accurate our forecast is. And we have also the percentage of abandoned calls and the AHT or the average handling time. And also we have the previous year's results. Also, we have created a drill through button here. So we've created a drill through functionality so that we can drill through a certain day and see the interval performance for that day. So in the call center industry, usually the day is divided into intervals, whether 30-minute intervals or 1-hour intervals usually. In our case, I've divided our day into 1-hour intervals. So we have 24 intervals per day. And of course, if you divide your day into half-hour intervals, then you're going to have 48 intervals per day. So here you can see here that there is a caption here that says to drill through the intervals, select a single data point from date. So what you need to do is to select a date here, and then you can click to drill through. And now you'll see here the details of that date. So you can see here that the date we have here is the date that we clicked on in our chart here. So it was the 28th of February that we clicked on. So this is what we got here. If we click, for example, on this date, which is the 6th, you can see here that when we drill, we'll go to the results of the 6th of February. And this is a very common view that managers in a call center would want to see. So they would want to see the overall performance of the date. So you can click here as well to go back to like the global view of all the dates. So the managers want to see the overview of all the days, and then they would want to drill into a certain date to see the details of what the performance was in a certain interval or in the intervals of that day. So you can see here we have the actual to forecast, we have the AHT versus the abandoned percentage, and I think to make this consistent, we would need to make the title be aligned to the middle. So we're gonna align this to the middle. All right. And you can see here, we also have a donut chart here that gives us the split or the breakdown of the calls by department. And this is not affected by any filters. So when I select another department, this does not get affected. And we'll see how to adjust the filters or how to adjust the what visuals filter each other. And we have the HT versus the abandoned percentage, as you can see here. And we have here this is a KPI card, but this is created through a caption measure here that generates a these sentences here that summarize the performance of the call center, and we'll see how to do that as well. Also, at a later stage, this will be expanded as well. This dashboard will be expanded into an agent's view as well. So a view that shows the performance of the different agents. So you can see here, there's a button here to go to the agent's view, which I still have not created. So this probably will be part 2 of creating this dashboard. So this video will be part 1, and then we're gonna have a part 2 as well. All right. So let's see how we can start creating this dashboard step by step. Of course, the example files are down below in the description if you would like to download them and follow along with me. All right, so let's start by firing up Power BI, and we're going to create a blank report. And we're going to start by saving this report here. So I'm going to press Ctrl and S to save. I'm going to go to more options, and I'm going to browse to my destination. I'm going to name it Call Center Dashboard Step by Step. All right, so I've saved my dashboard. Now let's start importing our data. So to import our data is in some CSV files. I can either go to get data here from text/CSV, and I can start importing, or I can go to transform data here, and I can also right click here, new query, and choose text/CSV. And here is our data model. So our data model consists of different tables. So the first table here is the fact table for our calls. So I'm going to start importing this table here. You can see here we get a preview of the data. We're going to click OK, and this will start importing our data. I'm going to call this table fact calls because this is the fact table containing our calls. Let's do a quick check on the data types. So we have a date column, we have a time column. So this is the time the call arrived. This is the agent ID, department ID, and here is our talk time. So this is the talk time spent on the call. So each row here in this table represents a call, and this is the holding time. So the time that the customer was put on hold on the call, and this is the ACW time, which is the after call work time. So this is the time in seconds that the agent spent in the after call work status. So in a call center, after you finish the call, there might be after call work to do, which is wrapping up the call in terms of adding notes to the call or taking the actions that the customer was promised, and closing the customer's account and all that. So this is a code that the agent puts after the call. to finish up these tasks. And this is the waiting time. So this is the time that the customer waited in the queue in order to get to the agent, so before starting the call. And this is a flag that shows whether the call was transferred or not. So if the call was transferred, it's a 1, and if it hasn't been transferred, it's 0. All right, so let's even add more. So I'm gonna also add another table here, which is for the abandoned calls. So this is a table that shows us the abandoned calls. So I'm gonna click OK here. So each row as well represents a call. So there is the date, and the date should be a date actually. So we're gonna replace current, and we're getting an error here. So in this case, it's because probably we need to change type by using a locale, and the locale here is going to be the English UK, because the dates are put in the international way of putting dates, which is date, month, year, not the US way. The US way is month, day, year, but the English United Kingdom should solve this. So if we click OK, you can see here that we're getting no errors here. This is the time. So for the time, this should be a time data type, and this is the department ID, and this is the abandonment time in seconds. So this should also be a whole number. This is a whole number in seconds. So we're going to call this query as well fact abandoned, because this is a fact table as well. So each row in this table represents an abandoned call. So it's a call where the customer has not reached an agent. So this could be due to different reasons. It could be because the call dropped, or the customer got bored because he waited for a long time in queue, for example. So they got bored and they just hung up. So there could be multiple reasons for the customer not reaching an agent. All right, so let's import another table here. So right-click, new query, text/CSV, and let's import our agents table. So this is a dimension table, not a fact table. This is a dimension table that contains a listing of our agents. So we're going to click OK here, and this basically contains the agent ID, agent name, gender, date of birth, department ID, and team manager. So we'll use this table to analyze our data by agents, which should be in the next sequel of this video. So it's going to be in part 2 most likely, but we're just going to import the table. And I believe here we need to change the date of birth to a date. So in this case, it's actually not worked just to change it. So we need to change it using locale as well. So we're going to change type using locale, and this is going to be by day to a data type of date, and we're going to make it using the UK locale, and click OK. And as you can see here, now it's been changed successfully. This is the department ID, which it's in this case a text, but let's make it a whole number. Okay, and this is the team manager, which is a text, and the agent ID here as well. We're going to make it a whole number as well. All right, so this looks good. So let's also import another table here. So new query, text/CSV, and let's import our departments table. So this is a small table that contains our departments. We have only 4 departments in the call center. So the departments are like, what different business units or, departments that the customers get sent to, or, on the calls. So they, when you call the call center, you get some choices. For billing, press 1. For technical support, press 2. For a general inquiry, press 3. For new connections, press 4. For example, this is what you get prompted. So this is exactly what it is. Okay, so this is department ID. It's an integer, and department name, it's a text. Now let's import another table here. So I'm going to go to new query, text/CSV. And we're going to import the surveys table. So this is the table that contains the surveys that our customers receive about the service that they received from the agents. So here we have the survey ID, we have the a date and time column. So this is the date and time that the customer received the survey, the agent ID for the agent who provided the service to the customer, and then we have the recommend score, satisfaction score, and resolution score. So these are going to be used to calculate the NPS and the satisfaction score and the resolution score, which are important metrics in customer service, which we're gonna use when we create our agents dashboard. So this is going to be used in the next video. But for now, we're just going to import the data. We're going to start by splitting the date and time here. So we're going to split the column here by a delimiter, and the delimiter will be a space. This is going to be the delimiter that we're going to separate our date and time with, and then we're going to change the type of the data type of the date column. So this is going to be our date column here. We're going to change it using a locale, and the locale will be the English United Kingdom, and I'm going to click OK, and we've managed to change it successfully. And we're going to call this date, or let's call it survey date, and this is going to be survey time. So survey date and survey time, and we have here the agent ID. We have the recommended score, satisfaction score, resolution score. All right, so this is our surveys table imported here. Now let's also import another table, which is our forecast table. So our forecast table is actually not in a CSV file, it's in an Excel workbook. So we're gonna create a new query from an Excel workbook, and we're gonna find our forecast table here, and we're gonna open it, and the forecast table contains the forecast for the different departments in different on different dates and times. So as you can see here, so it contains the forecasted calls for different departments on different date and time. So the forecast usually is done on an interval level, where we would have the forecast for a particular interval on a particular date. So we create the forecast for all intervals for all departments. This is what the usual process is. And the forecast or what the forecasted calls would be, or how many calls forecasted, would be based on historical data usually. Okay, so this is going to be our fact forecast table. And let's just make sure to assign the correct data type. So here we have a date. This is the interval, should be a time. So we're going to replace that. So as you can see here, we have the time as well, and we have the department ID and the forecasted calls, which is an integer. So this is correct. All right. So this is our forecast table, and this is important for calculating a metric, which is the number of actual calls received divided by the number of forecasted calls, so as to know the accuracy of our forecast. If we received calls below the forecast or over the forecast, usually we aim for a 5% difference, either up or down, so that the forecasted calls would be within 5% maximum above or below the actual calls. Okay, this is what we usually aim for. And then the last query is going to be our calendar table. So we're going to create our calendar table, and we're going to create it from some Power Query code. Actually, this is my favorite way of doing it. This is how we're going to do it. So to do that, we're going to use some Power Query M code. It's a simple line of code here. So we're going to go to the view table, view tab, and then advanced editor, and this is the code we're going to use. So our calendar table will start from 2022. So this code, it will start from the 1st of January 2022, and then it will add days equivalent to the difference between the 31st of December 2024 and the 1st of January 2022. So this is what the code will be. And then it will add one extra day. And of course, the duration is basically what the increment will be, or what the difference will be between the added items. So this creates a list, basically a list of dates that start on the 1st of January 2022. And then it will add items to the list equivalent to the difference between the 31st of January of the 31st of December 2024 and the 1st of January 2022, and it will add an extra day, one extra day, because if you just take the difference, there will be one day missing, which is the 31st of December 2024. Like if you add all these days equivalent to the difference, there will be one day remaining, and the difference between the items in the list, the added items between each item and the other one, the increment will be 1 day. So this is day, hour, minute, second. This is the formula we're going to use. You could freeze your screen to retype this formula or to copy it. And then I'm going to click on done here. So this will generate a list of dates between the 1st of January 2022 and the 31st of December 2024. And we created dates between 2022 and 2024 because these are the dates for our data. So our data spans between 2022 and 2024. All right, and we're going to click on to table here to convert this list to a table. So a list is an object, a type of object in Power Query. We're going to convert that to a table, and this will be the date column on the table. And the date column will have a date data type. And we're going to start building this calendar table. So we're going to name this calendar. All right, and let's add more columns here. So I'm going to select my date column. I'm going to go to add column here, date, and we're going to add the year first of all. So this is going to add a year column to our calendar table. We're also going to add the month here. So this month will be the month number. So 1 for January, 2 for February, etc. So this is going to be our month number. And we're going to also add one more column here, which is the name of the month. So the name of the month, as you can see, will be January, February, etc. But the name of the month we have here is the long name of the month. So it's actually better to have the shorter form so that it doesn't take a lot of space on our visuals and so on. So let's actually convert it to the shorter form, which is by extracting the first 3 characters only out of the name of the month. So as you can see here, now it's got the shorter form. Let's also add one more column here. In this case, we're going to add the quarter. So the quarter here, as you can see, you'll get values of 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4 quarters, but I believe people would prefer the quarters to look like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So we can do that. Definitely, we can go to the transform tab here. We're going to click on format, and we're going to add a prefix, which is going to be the letter Q, the capital Q, and click OK. And this will make our quarters look like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Excellent. Let's add one more column here, which is our week. So this is going to be the week of the year. This is going to be week number of the year, for example. So, a year has 52 to 53 weeks, and we can control the day of the week that the week starts on. If we select here the last step, inserted week of year, we click on this gear icon, and as you can see here, we'll get the formula that gives us the week of the year. And the default starting day of the week will be depending on what the starting day of the week setting is on your computer. But to explicitly specify that, we can use the second input on the formula here. So add a comma. So the second input on this function, which is the date.week of year, is the first day of week, as you can see here. So we can explicitly specify that, which I'm going to make it day.monday. So this will make Monday the first day of the week, and we're going to click OK. And now we're going to convert it to a whole number because it should be a whole number. This is like the day number of the week, right? And we're going to add another column here, which is going to be the day. We're going to add the name of the day. So in this case, Sunday, Monday, etc. However, let's make it the short form as well. We're going to go to transform here after selecting this column, and we're going to extract the first 3 characters only, and we're going to click OK. All right, so now we have created all of our tables, created or imported. So we've imported all these tables, or created a calendar table as well. Let's also close and apply to load this data to the data model. All right, so after loading the data to the data model, you'll see here that Power BI has attempted to create some relationships as well. Let's actually delete all the relationships. So deleting a relationship is by selecting it and pressing delete on our keyboard. I'm going to delete everything and then just build all the relationships so that you can understand all the relationships. So let's delete everything and let's just build them ourselves. We're not gonna just use what Power BI just does automatically. We're gonna build the relationships ourselves. All right, so here we have this these fact tables. So you can see here that all of my fact tables are at the bottom, and this is a good layout. It's a recommended layout. This is called the Rob Colley methodology. So this is invented by Power Pivot and Power BI guru Rob Colley, because this helps you envision the relationships or the direction of the relationships. It's like the flow of water, because water flows from top to bottom, as long as you don't employ a pump, of course, to make it flow from bottom to top. But yeah, this is the natural direction of the flow of water. So we're gonna tie or create a relationship between the departments and the department ID here and department ID. So department ID on the abandoned table and the department ID on the departments table as well. As you can see, let's also tie or create a relationship here between the calendar and the abandoned on the date column. As you can see, this is the date of the abandoned call. And then we have the agent ID here. I'm going to tie it to the agent ID on the calls table. This is like the calls received. All right. And we're also going to tie the department ID here to the department ID here on the departments table. And we're also going to tie here the agent ID to the agent ID here on the surveys, as you can see here. And we're also gonna tie the department ID here, or link the department ID to the department ID here on the departments table. And let's actually make the agents table here between the departments table and the calls table. So we're gonna tie that through the department ID here, so that the departments table filters the agents table, and then the agents table will also filter the calls table, and this will make the department table filter the calls table, because the filter will just flow down here all the way to the calls table. So if we try here and add, for example, the department name, and on the calls table, we're just going to add, for example, let's say the calls transferred, you will see here that we are getting some results, and the results are the data is being sliced and diced by department. So this is a proof that the department table is actually slicing the calls table. And of course, when data modeling or when doing data modeling, it's a good practice to always stick to one-to-many relationships and avoid many-to-many relationships, as they do create ambiguity. So always avoid many-to-many relationships. And actually, good data modeling is essential when it comes to writing DAX formulas, because if you have a good data model, you're going to make your DAX formulas a lot easier to write. We're also going to tie also the survey date here on the surveys table to the date column on the calendar table as well. This is a one-to-many relationship as well. So, and I believe we didn't also tie the date column here on the forecast to the date on the calendar. So the calendar table will be connected to a lot of tables here. I think we also might need to tie the date here on the calls table to the date on the calendar table. So as I told you, good data modeling. So the calendar table will filter almost all the tables, I think, except like all the fact tables, definitely. So the calendar table should be connected to all the fact tables on the date column. So as you can see here, it's connected to the forecast, it's connected to the surveys, it's connected also to the calls, and it's connected to the abandoned, I believe. Do we have a connection to the abandoned table? Yes, I believe we do. have a connection. We should have a connection. I think it's already, if we drag it and drop it, there's already a relationship. Yes, there is. So excellent. So this is what our data model is or will be. Feel free to freeze the screen or replay that part of creating the relationships if you need to, so as to build the relationships correctly. All right, so after creating our relationships, let's start building our dashboard. So as you can see here is a screenshot of the dashboard that I created. So as you can see, the colors that I've used, here's the first color that I've used here, which is this color here. So I started with this color, and this is how I created the whole color palette. So I started with this color. This is this purple color here, which is the color of my logo. So usually the colors that you would choose, or the color palette that you would choose, would be based on the color palette either provided by your company or your client, or you can create your own color palette. Okay, so I started with this color. This is the color of the logo. Of course, this is all a fictitious dashboard and fictitious data and fictitious company and fictitious logo. So I created this logo here using Canva, but I started with this purple color. All right, and I can extract the color from the screen by using the Microsoft Power Toys application. And I told you about that on my previous video as well when I created the insurance dashboard. I'll just put the link for downloading that application down below in the description. I'd highly recommend you download it. So all you do is you press Windows, Shift, and C on your keyboard, and then you can extract the hex color, an RGB and HSL of any color that is on the screen. So this is how I started. I started from this color here, and then what I did is that I used the Adobe Color Wheel. So you can use the Adobe Color Wheel, for example. So you can write on Google Adobe Color Wheel, and you'll get to this website here where you can start giving a color, starting with a color here. So I'm going to start with this purple color, and then it will give you some recommendations. You can also choose different color harmonies, and this is how I chose these color harmonies here, and then at the end I arrived at my color palette. So you could use a different color palette if you want, but this is the color palette I arrived at. Usually I try to have a shade of green, or a tint of green and a tint of yellow and a tint of red as well, because I might use conditional formatting so that I'd have the green, yellow or amber, and red for my conditional formatting as well. This is the color palette that I used, and I'm gonna put that color palette into Power BI. I'm gonna make this my color palette in Power BI. So to do that, I'm gonna go here, I think, to the View tab, and then here I'm gonna customize the current theme, and I'm gonna start importing the colors that I have. So here is the first color that I have here. I'm gonna extract it. All right, this is the first color, and I'm gonna paste it here, and that's it. And then the second color, this is my green color here. I'm gonna add that as well. All right, and this is the third color here, this yellow color. I'm gonna add this as well. And the fourth color I'm gonna add is this brown here, this brownish color. And I'm gonna also add this kind of purple color. This is more like violet, I think, and this is purple, or maybe it's the other way around. That's fine. Okay, so these are my colors, and then I'm gonna also add my negative and positive, and so I'm gonna add this red here for negative for my conditional formatting, and then this green for positive for my conditional formatting as well, and then this tint of yellow here for my neutral. All right. So I'm gonna click apply. This also name it. Let's name it call center dashboard. This is gonna be the name of this color palette, and I'm gonna apply it. Okay. All right. So now I've imported, or I've kind of entered what my color palette would be. If I need to have more colors added to my color palette, I can always customize the current theme and add more colors if I want to. All right, so this is importing our color palette. All right, so let's start creating our dashboard. So before creating the visuals, we're going to start by creating the measures first. So the first measure we're going to create here is the calls answered measure. But before creating measures, it's a good practice to create a table that would host all our measures, that would have all our measures inside it. So to do that, I'm going to go here to the home tab and click on enter data, and I'm going to create a new table here. I'm going to call it underscore measures. And this table, if I create it and load it, as you can see here, it will float on top of all the other tables. And the reason it's floating on top of all the other tables is that alphabetically, because I put this underscore at the beginning, it's going to make it have alphabetical precedence, basically. So this is why it will float on top of all the other tables. So this is why I name it underscore measures. All right, so let's start creating our measures under that table. And the first measure we're going to create here is the calls answered measure. So calls answered, and this will be the count rows of what the calls table it has, so the count of the rows, how many rows the calls table has, because each row on the calls table represents a call. So if we go here to the table view and check our calls table, you see here that each row here represents a call. It has the date of the call, the time, the agent who answered the call, the department ID, and information about the call, what the talk time was, the hold time, the ACW time, after call work time, and the waiting time as well. All right, so this is what the calls answered measure will be. And then we're gonna also create a measure that is actual by forecast. So the actual by forecast is gonna be the ratio between the actual answered calls. So we have the calls answered here and the forecast calls. So let's start by creating the forecast calls measure first. So for the forecast calls measure, we're going to create a new measure, and actually on the forecast calls measure, so we're going to create a measure called forecast calls, and this measure will be the summation of the forecast calls column on the forecast calls table. So if we sum that, this will give us the summation of the forecast calls. So you can see here it's 476k calls overall, across all the years and everything. All right, so let's add one more measure here, which is the abandon percentage. But the abandon percentage is simply the percentage of the answered calls that were abandoned. So it's basically the number of abandoned calls divided by the number of answered calls. So what we need to do here is to create a new measure for the abandoned calls. And for the abandoned calls will be the number of rows that are available on the abandoned table, because each row on the abandoned calls table, so if we go here to the table view, we check the abandoned calls table, you'll find here that each row represents a call. So it's the number of rows here on the abandoned calls table. And then to calculate the abandoned percentage, this will be by dividing the abandoned calls by the answered calls. All right, so we're going to use the divide function here to divide the abandoned calls by the answered calls, and now we've created the abandoned percentage. All right, so now let's start creating our AHT measure. But before actually creating our AHT measure, let's make sure to organize our measures under some folders. So to do that, we're going to go here to our model view, and I'm going to make sure that, for example, our calls answered measure is selected here, and I'm going to put it in a folder called basic measures. So this will put my calls answered measure under a folder called basic measures, and I'm actually going to move all the other measures to that folder as well for now. And then I'm going to actually create more subfolders to that folder. So to calculate the AHT, we'll need to calculate some measures. So they are all going to be under this basic measures folder for now, but then we're going to create subfolders later, and I'm going to show you how. So to create the AHT measure, to calculate our AHT, the AHT is the summation of the total talk time and the total after call work time and the hold time. And we can get these numbers from our calls answered table. So our calls table. So here's our fact calls table. We have our talk time, the hold time, the ACW time, and this is the waiting time. This is the time that the customer waited on queue. So this is not part of the average handling time. So it's talk time, hold time, and ACW time. This is what we're searching for. So let's create a measure here for the talk time. So we're going to call it total talk time, which is going to be the summation of the talk time on the calls table. So this is the total talk time, and I'm going to create another measure here. I'm going to call it total hold time. This is our hold time, which is the summation of the hold time on the calls table. This is our hold time here. And we're going to also create another measure here, which is going to be the total ACW time, so after call work time. So this is going to be the summation of the ACW time on the calls table. This is our ACW time. And I'm actually going to create a folder here under the basic measures folder. I'm going to call it HT calculations, so that I create, I'll put all the HT measures under it, or the HT, the measures related to HT under the HT calculations. But let's create our HT measure first. Okay, so our HT, or average handling time measure, is going to be by summing up the talk time, right? So the total talk time, and we're also going to sum up the ACW time, and we're going to sum up the hold time as well. So we're going to divide the summation of all these times, all right, by the answered calls. This is what our AHT will be. This is what our average handling time will be. It will be by dividing the summation of all these times by the calls answered. This is going to be our HT. All right, so now let's put this AHT measure under a folder called HT calculations. And I'm actually also going to put the calls answered and the ACW hold time and talk time measures as well under that folder. So to do that, I'm just going to go here to my model view. I'm going to make sure my HT measure is selected. So currently it's under the basic measures folder, but if I type this backward slash and then I type HT calculations like this. So as you can see here, now the HT is under the HT calculations folder. Now I'll do the same for the other measures here. So if I go to HT here, I'm just going to copy here the display folder. I'm going to go to calls answered. I'm going to paste this as well. This will move the calls answered to be under this folder. So I can do that, or I can actually simply just drag and drop here as well. So this is another option. You can drag and drop the measures to be moved under the HT calculations folder, which is a subfolder from the basic measures. So as you can see here, we're trying to organize our measures. I can also create a folder for the abandoned calls. So for the abandoned percent, for example, here, I'm going to create a folder, which is going to be a subfolder of the basic measures. I'm going to call it abandoned. So this is for the abandoned calls calculations. So as you can see here, the abandoned percentage is now under that folder. and also the abandoned calls is going to be under that folder. And for the abandoned percentage, I think we forgot to make it a percentage. So the formatting, we can change the formatting from here to make it a percentage. And let's make sure it's just one decimal place as well. All right, so this is one way to change the formatting. Another way as well, of course, is to select it, and here you'll see the different formattings. You can select percentage here and make it one decimal place. All right, so this is how you can organize your measures into different folders. Let's also make another folder as well for the forecast calls. So I'm just gonna create a folder called forecast. So I'm gonna go here as well. So the forecast calls, I'm gonna create a folder under basic measures for all the measures related to the forecast. All right, so this is gonna be a forecast folder. So as you can see here, I'm easily creating subfolders here under the basic measures. So basic measures, and then we have abandoned, HT calculations, and then forecast. All right, so this is how you can create subfolders for your measures. This will not affect the calculations of your measures or anything. It's just something to organize your measures and make them neat and easy to find if you need to find them. All right, so now that we've created our basic measures, and we're going to create more measures later, but for now, these should suffice. We're going to start creating this KPI card here at the top. So we're going to insert this new KPI card. So this is what it is. It's this new KPI card. And if we select it and then go here to the formatting of the KPI card, we can go to size and style here, and actually we need to start inserting KPIs into it. So the first KPI here we're gonna insert is the calls answered. So we're gonna go here under HT calculations, we're gonna find the calls answered measures. We're just gonna add it here. All right, so we've added the calls answered measures, and as soon as we add this KPI or this measure, we'll have more options here. So under the layout, we're gonna, let's say, display 4 cards. We're gonna have like 4 measures, or maybe even 5. I could add the transferred calls as well, because I believe I forgot to add the transferred calls here. So we'll see. We can always change that later. So for now it's 4. Because we have 4 KPIs here. First one is the calls answered. All right. So this is the calls answered KPI or measure. And under the background here, you can see here that the background is purple. So we're just gonna make the background this purple color. And actually the background, I don't think it's the purple color. It's actually, I think this golden brown color. And so I think this is gonna be our background. I think so. We're gonna adjust that later. So if you go to the cards as well, the background of the cards should be the purple. All right, so this should be the background of the cards. And let's actually add more measures. So we also have the actual to forecast. Actually, we haven't created the actual to forecast, so we need to create the actual to forecast measure. So under the forecast folder here, I'm gonna create a new measure and call it actual to forecast. So this is simply by dividing the calls answered by the forecast calls measures. All right, so this is the actual to forecast, and this. So I actually have 2 forecast folders here. I'm just gonna move this. Actually, I don't know why we have 2 forecast folders. We should only have 1. Okay, so apparently I created a forecast folder here. So this one is under basic measures / forecast. So this should be under basic measures and then backward / forecast. So this should be the folder containing this. All right, so that it would be under this folder. All right, so the actual to forecast will be under this forecast folder here, which is under the basic measures. So we're going to add the actual to forecast as well to this KPI card. And as you can see here, we're going to have it here. And we're also going to make some changes to the cards here. So for, let's start with the first series here, which is the calls answered. So we have this background, this color, and let's also change as well. I think we need to make changes to the callout values. So the callout values should be white, all right? And then I believe the titles as well. So if we check the titles here, the titles is this brownish golden brown. The titles is this golden brown. So we're gonna also change. I think it's actually, is this the label, not the title, I think. So let's make the labels, okay, yeah. So these are the labels here. Let's increase the sizes of the labels and let's make them bold, all right? So that they resemble what we have here. And I think it might be better if we choose a lighter color here, something that is a bit lighter. All right. So I think I chose here a lighter color on the screenshot. I probably used the lighter color. So I'm gonna actually check the exact color code of that. All right. So the color I used had this had a different color code. So the color code for that color. So if you go here under the labels, here's the color code of the color that I used, which is E1C233. So as you can see here, so that this stands out in the purple. This is the color code of the color that I used, and the size actually was just 15. This is the size of the labels, and for the callout values, I believe their size was 25. So here for the values, it's 25. So we're gonna decrease the size of the callout values here, and we're gonna add more KPIs to that KPI card. So we're gonna also add the abandon percentage. All right, and we're also gonna add the AHT. So we're gonna add the AHT to that KPI card as well. So as you can see here, we have the AHT here, and we're also we might add the transferred calls later, but let's see. For now, we'll just create this exact KPI card. We might add the transferred calls and transfer calls percentage later. But this is it basically, and the actual to forecast should be a percentage. So we're just gonna change the formatting here to a percentage. So as you can see here, here's the actual to forecast percentage. All right, this is the actual to forecast measure. I changed the number formatting for it to a percentage. This is the basic KPI card here, and there are two levels here. So this is, these are the numbers for the currently selected numbers, and then here we will have, on the bottom part here, we're gonna have a comparison versus the last year. So we're gonna have the calls answered, for example. So how much was it versus the last year? So the 3K, for example, here is 0.6% more than the same time in the last year, which is basically February 2022, right? Because here February 2023 is selected, so it's against February 2022. It was 0.6% more, and also for the same selected queues or departments here. So we're definitely going to add these this bottom layer shortly, but we just need to create these measures as well first. All right, so there is actually something that we've done. We've made the labels bold while they're actually not bold here. So just to make them exactly the same. We just need to unbolden the labels. So we're gonna go here to the label. We're just gonna remove the bolding from them. So as you can see here, now the labels are the same, and they're actually the same font as well. So the labels, as I told you, they are this color here. If you would like to apply the color, so I just played with the colors to see, you know, which color can stand out here, and this color is standing out quite well. So this is the color that I used for the labels, and as you can see here, the values are white, but then we're going to apply conditional formatting later to some of the labels, the abandoned percentage and the EHT, because we're going to have targets, but we're going to create these later. Now, for the section at the bottom here, this is called the reference labels. So we need to turn on the reference labels. So to do that, the reference label at the bottom here is, you know, saying plus 0.6% versus last year. All right. So to do that, what we need to do is to calculate the percentage difference of the calls answered, you know, this year versus last year, or the previous year, I mean. So to do that, we're actually gonna create a folder, you know, to host all our previous year measures. But let's first create a calls previous year measure. So a new measure here. This is gonna be calls answered previous year. And with this measure, we're going to use the calculate function to calculate the calls answered. And we're going to use the same period last year function. And with this function needs an input, which is the date column on the calendar table. This is what it needs. Close the brackets and press enter. And this will be the calls answered previous year. All right. And actually for this, we're actually going to start creating a folder that is previous year measures, you know. So we're just gonna add this backward slash or backslash previous year measures. We're gonna add a folder called previous year measures, and we're gonna add the calls answered previous year under that. So this will host our previous year measures. And to calculate the percentage difference, what we need to do is let's create a new measure here. So calls answered this year versus previous year percentage. So for this, we're gonna divide, and basically what we're going to do is that we're gonna divide the calls answered, so calls answered, by the calls answered previous year. All right, and then we're gonna minus 1 from the whole division. All right, so this is the same as also subtracting calls answered previous year from calls answered and then dividing that by calls answered previous year. So this is the same formula. It's just a mathematical simplification of the formula. All right, so if you press enter, so you can see here we created this calls answered previous year percentage, and actually we have a double folder here created. So let's actually move this to the previous year measures. Let's move it here. So we actually can't move it. So let's actually go here, and what we need to do is to, you know, copy the destination of this measure here. So previous year measures, we're just gonna make the display folder, you know, basic measures / previous year measures, so that it moves here under the previous year measures folder. So now we have this calls answered previous year and calls answered this year versus previous year, or this is, you know, the difference in percentage between this year and the previous year. So we're going to select here this KPI card, and we're going to go here down to the reference labels, and we're going to add a reference label. So for now, we're just going to add this calls answered this year versus previous year. All right, and as you can see here, we get this reference label where we have the calls answered this year versus previous year, and we get the number as well. So this is actually not what we want. We don't want it to look like this, because as you can see here, it says plus 0.6% versus last year. So whatever the figure is versus last year. So this is what it says. So what we need to do is to create a text that just gives us what we want. So to do that, I'm actually going to create a measure that is, calls answered this year versus previous year, or let's actually make this calls answered percentage change. So I'm just going to make it calls answered percentage change, this year versus last year or so, or just calls answered percentage change. All right, so we know that it's this year versus last year. I'm just going to change its name here, calls answered percentage change, but we're actually going to create a measure that would give us the reference label that we want. So bear with me here. So what we need to do, we're just going to call it calls answered percentage change reference label. Okay, and for this, what we're going to do is we're going to get, so as you can see here, it says plus 0.6% or whatever the result is. So we're going to format. So we're just going to format the value of the calls answered percentage change. We're going to format it. So here we're going to add a formatting, which is the first formatting is what we want to show in case we have a positive figure. So this is going to be positive and then 0.0%. All right, so this is what we want in case of a positive number, and then in case of a negative number. So we need to separate the positive and the negative formatting by a semicolon, as you can see here. So it's the same idea in Excel. Where in number formatting, we have the positive number formatting, and then a semicolon, and then the negative, and then a semicolon, and then the zero, and then a semicolon, and then the text formatting. So this is the same idea. So here, minus 0.0% as well. And we don't need to specify the zero. So it's just going to take the 0% formatting, or we can specify it as well. So we can be explicit. If it's exactly 0, it's going to be 0%, although it's very unlikely that you get a 0% change in this case. But I mean, this would happen only if you get the exact same number of calls this year versus last year. So anyways, we're just gonna close the double quotes here and then close the brackets for the format functions. So this represents here this first part here, which is the plus 0.6%. And let me actually change that to a red so that you can see it easier. This represents the first part here, which is the plus 0.6%. And then we're going to concatenate onto that a space and then versus last year, right, between double quotes. So as you can see here, we're going to concatenate onto that a space and then versus last year. So if we do that, this is the calls answer percentage change reference label. So as you can see here, we have had this, but then this is the previous year measures. We actually need to remove this previous year measures folder because we don't need it actually. I don't know why it's being recreated all the time. I think so what we need to do is to have whatever we have here under basic measures, we need to create a new folder, and we need to make it base reference labels. So we need to create a reference labels folder. Okay, and now we have this under the reference labels folder, as you can see here. All right, so now as you can see here, this calls answered percentage change reference label is under this reference labels folder, and we're going to put all the reference labels under that folder actually. So we've added so we're going to add this instead of the calls answered percentage change. We're going to add here the calls answered percentage change reference label instead. So this is going to be our reference label. So we're just gonna add this, and we're gonna remove the title of the reference label. So as you can see here, it will only show the plus 50.2% versus last year, as you can see here. So now only shows, you know, plus 50.2% versus last year, which is, it's comparing it's actually, there's no filter context actually at the moment for any years. So if we add a slicer actually, so if we add a slicer here and we add the years, so let's add the years from the calendar table, for example. All right, let's add the year here. So minus 100% versus last year, because I mean 2022 is the first year, but then if you select 2023, it says here minus 0.6% versus last year. So this is comparing the calls in 2023 versus the calls in 2022, and it's saying that in 2023 we received minus 0.6% calls versus last year, versus 2022. So 0.6% less calls than in 2022. So under the reference labels here, we need to make sure under the reference labels to have all this here selected as all, and then we're gonna go to the divider here because we want to change the color of this dividing line, and we want to change its thickness as well. All right, so we're gonna make under the reference labels, we're gonna go to divider. We're gonna make this divider this color here, and we're actually gonna make it, let's make it 5. I think I made it 5 actually. So now you can see here that this divider looks like this one, as you can see here, right? So this is how you can change the color of the dividing line here. And now we have this main value here, and we also have this reference label that shows, you know, what the conditional, what the percentage is against the last year, percentage of the calls answered against the last year, percentage change, I mean. It shows the percentage change of the calls answered against the last year. All right, so now we're gonna create the reference label here for the actual to forecast percentage. So what we need to do is first to create the actual to forecast percentage for the same period last year measure, because this is basically, this number is the number for the same period last year. Okay, so what we need to do is to create the actual to forecast percentage for same period last year, and I'm actually gonna rename this measure as well, actual to forecast. I'm gonna rename it to actual to forecast percentage, because this is a percentage. Okay, and I'm gonna create a new measure here under the forecast folder. I'm gonna create a new measure which is gonna be actual to forecast percentage same period last year, which is gonna be by using the calculate function, and I'm gonna use the actual to forecast percentage measure, and I'm gonna use the same period last year function here, and I'm gonna add to it the date column on the calendar table, close the brackets and press enter. And now we have the actual to forecast same period last year, and I'm not sure why this folder here was created. I don't know, it seems to be a bug or something. So I'm just gonna move it here to this forecast folder so that they are also all measures related to the forecast would be under the same folder. So we've got the actual to forecast percentage same period last year here. So I'm gonna select here my card visual, and I can so go to format here, and then I will go to my reference labels, and I make sure my actual to forecast percentage series is selected, and I'll add here the actual to forecast percentage same period last year, and let's make sure that this is a percentage as well with 1 decimal place. You can see here it says actual to forecast percentage same period last year 105.0%. Okay, and what we can do now is to change the label of the actual to forecast percentage. Instead of the field name, I'm going to create a custom label, which is going to be last year was. All right, and I can perhaps make it bold And so this is going to be the title here. I'm going to make it bold and white because I'm going to make the background actually purple as well, and the value will be, let's say, bold and white as well. Okay, and the background of the reference label. So in order to edit the background of the reference label, you need to make sure you're under reference labels here and select all the series, and then go here to background and then select this purple background here to make the background purple, as you can see here. And maybe we can actually increase the size of the font a bit here. I think maybe 14, and so this is the size of the font for the value, and also for the title we could increase the size as well, maybe. Alright, so now we've created the reference label here for the actual to forecast percentage, and it says here previous year was, here last year was. So it's the same thing. We could change it again here for the reference label. I'll select my series again, and for the custom it's going to be previous year was. Okay, so previous year was this figure. Okay, so now we have visibility on what the current figure is and what the same period last year was as well. Alright, so now let's construct the reference label here for the abandoned percentage for the previous year as well. So what we're going to do here is that we're gonna create a new measure here for the abandoned percentage. So this is a percentage of the calls that we received that were abandoned. So abandoned percentage same period last year. Okay, so for this measure, what we're going to do is that we're going to use the calculate function to calculate the abandoned percentage here, and we're gonna use the same period last year function here, and we're gonna give it the date column on the calendar table. Close the brackets and press enter, and now we have the abandoned percentage same period last year. And I'm not sure why there's a new folder as well that's been created, so I'm just gonna move it to this folder here. And as you can see here, now we have the abandoned percentage same period last year measure. So we're gonna select our KPI card here. We're gonna go to format, all right, and we're gonna go to reference labels. We're gonna select the series for the abandoned percentage, and we're gonna add the abandoned percentage same period last year. And actually this should be a percentage, and let's make it with 1 decimal place only. So abandoned percentage same period last year, and we're gonna change here the label itself. We're gonna put a custom label. So last year was 4%, and we're gonna make sure that the label is white and bold, and that the value is also bold and white. Okay, so as you can see here, here's the abandoned percentage. So this is going to be, instead of actually last year was, let's make it previous year was. Previous year was, to make it exactly identical to this one. And then we're going to apply conditional formatting later. So after adding all the reference labels, we're going to add conditional formatting as well. So let's do the same for AHT actually. Let's create the AHT same period last year measure, same period last year, HT same period last year. And this is going to be by using the calculate function. And using the calculate function, we're going to calculate the AHT, and we're going to use the same period last year function here, and we're going to give it the date column on the calendar table, close the brackets and press enter. And as you can see here, for some reason as well, there's another AHT calculation folder that's been created. I don't know if this is a bug or something. I didn't have it when I was creating the dashboard at the beginning, but you know, there it is. So now here, after selecting our KPI card, let's go to format, and then here we're going to select the series, which is AHT. We're going to add the AHT same period last year here, and we're gonna select the label, and let's make it a custom label that says, you know, previous year was, and now it says previous year was this figure 635, and actually for the AHT same period last year, let's make it an integer with the 0 decimal place, so a whole number is 0 decimal place. Or actually, I mean, HT could have some decimals. So actually, let's make it a decimal number, but with the 0 decimal place, because you know the decimals or the fractions in AHT is not that important. So yeah, and let's make this also white as well. Let's make it bold. All right, so now we've created this. Previous year was this figure, as you can see here, which is similar to this one, and then later we'll apply conditional formatting as well. All right, so let's now apply the conditional formatting that we have here. So you can see here there's conditional formatting that is applied here. So you can see that 4.3% is in red, and this 635 is in amber, as you can see here. So there is conditional formatting being applied here. And the first step, you know, to apply conditional formatting is to have an actual target that we're gonna base our conditional formatting upon. So I'm gonna create a new measure, and I'm gonna call it abandon percentage target, or maybe target abandon percentage. And the target will be actually 4%. This is our target for the abandoned calls. It's 4%, 0.04. Okay. And it's been created under the reference labels, but we don't want it to be under reference labels. I'm just gonna create it under a folder called targets. Okay, so it's gonna be under the targets folder, and I'm gonna create also another measure here, which is the target for AHT, which is gonna be equal to 638. So this is like 638 seconds. This is our HT target. So we have the target, and based upon that target, we're going to create some logic to apply conditional formatting. All right, so in the process of creating conditional formatting, we need to also create measures for the different colors that we're going to use in conditional formatting. So I'm going to create measures that would have the green. So a measure that would have the green color that we're going to use in conditional formatting, and another one that would have the yellow or amber, and the third one that would have the red color. So this is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to create a new measure here, and I'm going to call it CF green. And this CF green measure is basically going to host my green color, which here is the code of my green color. Here's the hex code. So it's going to be put between double quotes like this. So this is, and I think we need to also put the hash sign as well, or the pound sign. So this is going to be our measure. This is the green color that we're going to use. And then for the red color, so let's create a red color as well. So this is going to be CF red, and CF is like conditional formatting, right? Is going to be equal to the hex color of our red color. So this is the hex color of our red color. I'm extracting it, as I told you before, using the Microsoft PowerToys application, and the link for downloading the application will be down below in the description. So I press Windows, Shift, and C button, and I'm able to extract the color from the screen. And then I'm gonna also specify a measure, or create a measure for my yellow color. Okay, so here's the measure for my yellow color, and my yellow color is gonna be this color here. So this will be the hex code of the yellow color as well. All right, so I've created measures for my green, red, and yellow. I'm also gonna create actually a folder as well for conditional formatting. So I'm just gonna put my yellow measure here under conditional formatting folder, and then I'm actually gonna move the red as well and the green measure under conditional formatting. So this will be under conditional formatting here. So I have a folder that hosts my conditional formatting. All right, so now we want to apply conditional formatting first to our abandoned percentage here. So to do that, we need to write the rule that the conditional formatting will be applied based upon. And to do that, we're going to create a measure that specifies what this rule is. So this measure will be called CF-abandoned percentage. And basically, I'm copying it from the original dashboard that I created because I don't want to waste time writing it. So here, this is the abandoned calls percentage, which is called abandoned percentage, just abandoned percentage. So I'm going to highlight it, press Control, Shift, and L on my keyboard to highlight all the instances so that I can replace them at the same time, all at once. So I'm going to write abandoned percentage, and you can see here that all the instances are being replaced all at once, which is by highlighting what you need to replace and then Control, Shift, and L. So now we want to replace this instance here, which is abandoned calls percentage target, with the target for the abandoned calls, which is target-abandoned percentage. So Control, Shift, and L, and then target-abandoned percentage. All right, and then we want to replace the CF red with our CF red, or the red conditional formatting color. So we want to replace this. So it's only one instance, which is we're going to replace that, and then our CF yellow as well. We're going to replace that, and then the CF green as well. So actually, I think there is an extra square bracket here and an extra square bracket here. So we're good, and there is an extra square bracket here as well. So we're good now. So what this measure does here is that it checks the percentage of abandoned calls, and it checks it against 5% above the target. So if it is more than 5% above the target, so abandoned calls, if they are more, if we have more abandoned calls, that's a bad thing. That's not a good thing, right? If we have more calls abandoned, if we have customers that are not able to reach us, this is not a good thing. So if this is 5% above the target, right? Starting from 5% above the target, it should give us red. And if it is between 5% below the target and 5% above the target, so 5% below 4%, so 5% below 4%, or 5% after 4%, then it should give us yellow, so that we are within 5% of the target. All right, so we're very close to the target. And if it is less than 95% of the target, or like lower than 5% from the target, then we're in the green zone, basically. All right, so this is how I created a conditional formatting. You could create it as, if you're just less than the 4% target, then you're good, you're green. And if you're higher or greater than the 4% target, then you're red. And if you're exactly 4%, then you're yellow. But I created it so that our yellow is when you're 5% less than the target or 5% above the target. So between anywhere in between that region, anywhere in that region, 5% below and 5% above is yellow. And then if you're above 5% more than the target, then it's red. And if you're less than 5% lower than the target, then you're green, right? Because abandoned calls, if they are higher, it's bad. If they are lower, it's good. This is going to be our measure here, and this is our conditional formatting abandoned percentage. So this is the logic that's going to apply our conditional formatting, and we've already specified our red, yellow, and green here. Okay, so what we need to do to apply that is to select our KPI card, go to Format here, and then under the callout values, right? Because we want to apply it first to the abandoned percentage. So the result of right now, we want to select the abandoned percentage here, the value of it. So we're going to select this series to apply to the value of it. So I'm going to press FX here next to the value, and then I'm going to select a field value. So this will be based on a field value. And I'm going to go to a measures table, and under conditional formatting, I'm going to select my conditional formatting abandoned percentage, and I'm going to click OK. So this will apply my conditional formatting here to the abandoned percentage. So as you can see here, because 4.3% is more than 5% above the target, then it gets a red color, because the target is 4%, so 5% of that is about, I think it's 0.2%. So this is 4 plus 0.3%, which is 5% above which is more than 5% above the target. So this is why we get this red color here. So this is basically the logic on how you can apply conditional formatting. So let's also do the AHT one. All right. So I'm gonna also get you here the formula for applying conditional formatting to the AHT. So I'm gonna create a new measure here under the conditional formatting folder. I hope it goes under folder. So as you can see here, we have the logic here as well. And for AHT, I'm actually my range above the target and below the target for the yellow or amber region is only 1%. So if you're 1% above the target, or all the way to 1% below the target, then you get a yellow. And if you're above more than 1% above the target, then you're in the red region. And if you are less than 1% below the target, then you're in the green region. I just need to update this AHT target measure here, which should be updated to target-AHT. So I'm going to press Control Shift and L to update all the instances at once. So target, so this should be target-AHT. So I think I failed to do it all. So I'm going to do it again, Control Shift and L, and then it's going to be target-AHT. All right. And I need to update my conditional formatting here as well. The names, I think this should be CF red, and this is CF yellow. I think there's just an extra space on the ones that I pasted. And this should be CF green. All right, and this is an extra bracket here, an extra square bracket, and this is an extra square bracket. So now, if we press enter, you can see here we have the logic for applying the conditional formatting to the AHT. So now if we go here to the card, KPI card, and go to format, and then under the callout values, because we want to apply this to the conditional formatting to these values here, which are called the callout values. And I'm going to select my HT series here, and under the values, we can then go here and apply it based on a field value, and then it's going to be CF-HT. So this is what will apply my conditional formatting. This is the logic that will apply my conditional formatting. And now, as you can see here, we get this amber color. And actually there's some decimal places here. I'm just going to remove them. I'm going to make it 0 decimal places here. And so it's a decimal number, but with 0 decimal places, because decimal places in HT are not of much value, basically. All right. So we applied conditional formatting here to our callout values. Next, we'll apply the conditional formatting as well here to the reference labels as well. All right, so now we're going to also apply the conditional formatting to the abandoned same period last year. So it's going to be using the same idea, basically. So what we're going to do, we're going to create the logic. So we have our colors already. We're going to create the logic here. So the logic is going to be through a measure. So another measure here. So we're using, of course, the switch function, just like we did on the previous one. We're going to compare the abandoned percentage for the same period last year which we do have a measure here. So this is going to be abandoned percentage same period last year. So I'm going to highlight it first to replace all the instances. And then this is going to be abandoned percentage same period last year. So we matched this measure. So we're comparing the abandoned percentage same period last year to the target dash abandoned percentage. So it's the same logic, the exact same logic that we explained. So target dash abandoned percentage. And then let's replace the red here with the red that we have, and the yellow as well, and the green. Let's remove this extra square bracket as well. So the switch function, as you may know, it's like an if formula. It's another way of writing an if formula. So basically is you give it the condition that you're gonna execute something based upon. Okay, so the condition is that the test is true. So you give it condition and then test, all right, what the test is, and then the result, or what you need to be done if this test is true, and then test, and then what you need to be done in case this test is true, which is, to make it yellow. So here we're checking that we're 5% above the target, right? So if we're 5% above the target, more than 5% above the target, we get a red color. And then we're also checking here if we're between 5% above the target or 5% below. And in this case, we get the yellow color. And then if we're below 5% below the target, we get the green color. This is what we're doing. And it's the exact same logic that we've done for the abandoned measure. It's just this case, we're doing it for this abandoned measure for the same period last year. All right, so now we've created this logic here, and so based on this logic, the conditional formatting is going to be applied. We're going to select our KPI card, and then here instead of call out values, we're going to go to our reference labels. We're going to select our abandoned percentage here, and we're going to go to the value of the abandoned percentage, and we're going to apply conditional formatting to that, using a field value, and this will be using a measure, and this will be CF abandoned percentage for the same period last year. And as you can see here, the number has been conditionally formatted. We're going to do the same for the AHT as well. So I'm just going to copy here the measure because I don't want to waste time writing it. I'm just going to copy it, and this is going to be the conditional formatting for the AHT same period last year, and we want to replace the instances here. So this is going to be for the AHT same period last year. So highlight it, press Ctrl Shift and L, and then so this will highlight all the instances, same period last year. You need to write it with the correct spelling, and then this is going to be target-AHT. All right, so we're comparing it against the target, and then this is going to be the CF red, this is going to be the CF yellow, and this is going to be the CF green. So it's the same logic that we used for the conditional formatting of the AHT, the measure for conditionally formatting the AHT, and we're just removing the extra square brackets that we have here. So the measure is good. There are no red squiggly lines. So now we have the logic as well. So as you can see here, if you create the logic once, you can always copy it and reuse it again. All right. This is a good thing. We're going to select here series. It's going to be AHT this time. And for the value here, we're going to apply the conditional formatting, press FX, and this is going to be based on a field value. And it's actually, it should be CFHT same period last year. Sorry for that. Same period last year, and okay. And now it's also been applied. As you can see here, the logic has been applied as well. Excellent. This is beautiful. Now the beauty of what we've done here is that we're able to change the tint of red or yellow that we have. So, for example, let's say we want to use a different tint of red. Let's say we're going to use this tint of red, right? We're going to use this red instead of the red that we have. So in this case, we can just copy the the hex code of that red and go to the CF red measure here and paste the new hex code, right, for the new red color that we want to apply. And if we press enter, this will be changed on all instances of conditional formatting. So we have here a global red, for our conditional formatting. And so if we make a change to that global red, it will be applied across everything. Okay, so this is the beauty of doing it this way. You're creating a red and a yellow and a green, and then you can apply them anywhere. You have a global red for conditional formatting. I'm just gonna actually apply it. I'm gonna put it back to the red that we had because this works better with our purple background. All right. You could also create another red conditional formatting, so name it CF red 2 for example, and then use the other one as well. Maybe you want to use it on a different background, so that different background is not going to be good with this tint of red, so you could use a different tint of red as well. So you can have two tints of red, two forms of red conditional formatting. Although it's better to use one tint only across your report, so that you'd have it unified. So lots of ideas, as you can see here. I hope I'm giving you inspiration for your own dashboards, and let's continue building our dashboard. All right, so now we're gonna create the slicer here at the top for the year and for the month as well. So we already have a slicer for the year here inserted with the new slicer visual. So we inserted the new slicer visual, and all we've done is that we've added the year column from the calendar table. So this is simply what we've done. We've inserted this new slicer and added the year column from the calendar table. So let's actually format this slicer to look like this one. So you can see here it has this golden brown color with white text, and then when it's selected, it becomes having a black color with white text. And actually when you hover over it as well, so I'll just get the dashboard here. So when you hover over it, you get this purple color. So this is what we're gonna set up here. So here, let's go to the cards. All right, so let's go to not the cards, the buttons, I'm sorry. So in the default state, we're gonna fill these buttons with this color. Excellent. All right, and also in the default state, we'd like the values, the callout values, to be white. And that's what we want, exactly. All right, and now let's set up what would happen in case we hover over it. So when we hover over it, we'd like the fill color to be this purple. All right, so now when we hover over it, the fill color is purple, and the font is going to remain white. There's no problem. And then also when we, so let's go back to buttons here. When we select it, so when it's selected, it needs to be black and the font will remain white. So this is exactly what we want here. All right, let's actually just reduce its size like that. And let's also, under size and style, let's remove the background so that it's transparent. So this is exactly what we've done actually on these slicers. So now these slicers look exactly like this one. All right, now let's copy this slicer. So just copy it and paste it here. And I'll also remove the year and add the month name instead. All right, now with the month name slicer, let's make sure to change its layout. So under size and style here, I think under size and style, we need to go to layout, and the layout is going to be a single row with 12 buttons. All right. So this is what it would be. Single row with 12 buttons, as you can see here. And we have our month names. However, the thing is, the month names are not sorted according to the natural sorting order of the months, Jan, Feb, March, etc. They are sorted alphabetically, but this is an easy fix. So if we go here to our calendar table, so where is our calendar table? Here's our calendar table. If you click on the month name column, we'll have the option here on the column tool, sort by column, and we'll sort the month name by the month number. And now, as you can see here, the months are sorted in the natural order, and because we copied the slicer, so we inherited the same styling, so that's good. All right, so let's also remove the space between the buttons. So you see here that there is some space between the buttons on the slicer here, but here in the picture, in the screenshot, we don't have any space between the buttons. So to do that, you need to select the slicer, and then under the layout, don't make them a single row, make them a grid, but however, make it 12 rows by one column. So it's a grid of, actually it's 12 columns by, it's 12 columns by one row. So make the grid 12 columns by one row, like this, and then make the space between the buttons 0. So this is how you arrive at this shape here, or at this slicer here, where you don't have any space between the buttons. Okay, and we're gonna apply the same. We can actually format the paint, use the format painter to do that. So this is actually gonna make it, we don't want it to be 12 columns. We only want 3 columns though. But this will apply, the 0 space between the buttons thing. So now, as you can see here, we have these buttons here, and also, as you can see here, we have a slicer for the year and a slicer for the month. And as you can see here, when you select something, it becomes black, and when you hover over it, it's purple or violet. All right, so this is how you can create this effect here on the slicer. So now we've created this slicer here. We're also going to create another slicer for the department. So let's do that while we're at it. So I'm just going to copy this one. I'm going to copy this slicer, and I'm going to make it for the department. So department name here. All right, but in this case, it's going to be, we have actually 4 departments. So it's going to be 1 column by 4 rows actually, so that it looks like the one we have here. And I think actually the one we have here does have space between the buttons, seems like it. So we can keep space between them like this, or increase the space between them. Or if you would like to have no space between the departments, then you can do that as well. If you would like as well the values here to be aligned to the middle, you could do that. So that's pretty much, how to create this slicer as well. So we've created this slicer here. All right, so we're just creating the elements now, and then we're gonna arrange them later and do all the artsy stuff, and the colors and everything. But we're just trying to create the different elements or visuals of the dashboard for now. All right, so now let's create this donut chart that we have here for the calls by department. So this is easy to create. We're just going to insert a donut chart here, and we're gonna add our department name, as you can see here, and we're gonna add our calls answered. So now we have this breakdown by department here, as you can see, and we've unselected all the departments, so now we don't have any filters by department, so that we can see all the slices of our donut chart here. As you can see, we can then change the colors of the slices. So we could select the billing slice, for example. So let's select this one and then go to format, and then under the slices, the billing will be the purple, and let's say technical support will be the yellow, right? And it is, and then the general inquiry will be the brown, which we have here, and then the new connections will be the pink. So it will be this pink color here. So I probably shows this pink color here. So it's just another color that I chose that I thought that would look kind of good. So I added this pink color as well. So this is how I did it. And also, as you can see here, the legend is at the top. So we're gonna make the legend at the top center. So there you go. And we're gonna remove the background for this this visual. So the background, I think it should be here. We're just gonna remove it, and there it is. And I think it's pretty much done now. We could remove actually the title as well. So we'll remove the title, or we're actually gonna change the title. So the title text here, yeah, we're gonna remove it because we don't need to add a title. And then I think there is the text. Maybe you'll make the text black, completely black. This is the text. I think this is the text of the legend. So we remove the title for the legend, and we remove the text for the legend as well. And this one will be just calls answered. We don't need to write calls answered by department names, just calls answered. And that's it. So I believe this is pretty much done here, and then the color in the background will be created by the background that we're going to create. But this is pretty much it, as you can see. All right. This is how I created this donut chart. So I made it here calls instead of calls answered. So I'll just make it calls here. A shorter title and still descriptive. Okay. So this is how we created the donut chart. All right, so now let's build the rest of the visuals. So we have this AHT versus abandoned chart, which is a combo chart that has a line for the abandoned percentage, and it has a column chart for the AHT. All right, so let's build that. So for that, we're going to use this combo chart here, which is a line and stacked column chart. This actually should be a line and clustered column chart. So this is the one we're going to use here, line and clustered column chart. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the date here from the calendar table on the x-axis. Okay, and we actually just need we need it with just the dates. So we don't need a date hierarchy. We actually just need the date. Okay, and then we're gonna put the abandoned percentage here on the column, on the line y-axis. The abandoned percentage will be on the line y-axis, and the AHT will be on the column y-axis. All right. So this is how it's going to be. And if we apply here a filter for a certain month, you can see here the line and the column for AHT. We can now start doing some changes or formatting here to the chart to make it look like this one. All right, so first let's make sure to remove the background, and also here on the legend, let's make it in the top center. And for the title as well, the title will be HT versus abandoned percentage, and we're gonna make it aligned to the middle. And for the legend title, so we're gonna remove the legend title because we don't need it. HT versus abandoned percentage. Actually, the legend will be at the bottom, not at the top. So the legend itself, the position would be at the bottom center. Okay, and for the x-axis, we actually don't need the title because it's obvious that this is the date, right? We'll keep the values, and let's actually change the color of the line. So here under the lines, the line will be solid. The color, let's make it this yellow here. Okay, or maybe a lighter yellow. Yeah, I think this is the one. Okay, and let's also show the data labels. So there should be data labels here. Let's turn them on. So now it's showing the data labels for both series, for both the line series and the column series. However, let's make sure that we can distinguish them from each other by adding a background. So starting with the HT series here, we selected the HT series. So for the HT, I'm going to make it the background, the purple with 0 transparency, and the values, I'm going to make them white so that they stand out. And as you can see here, they look the same as here. And also for the abandoned percentage series, we're going to make the values, let's make them black and with a yellow background. So this yellow background here, 0 transparency, and as you can see here, they stand out as well. So this looks good, looks pretty similar to this one. I think it just needs to be squished a bit like this. And actually also on the y-axis, let's remove the titles on the y-axis. So on the y-axis, we're gonna remove the titles. Excellent. All right, and we could also actually remove the values even, because anyone who looks at this chart will understand that this is the HT. These number ranges are the HT, and these number ranges are the abandoned percentage. So now, as you can see here, this chart looks like this chart. All right, so this is how we built the HT versus abandoned percentage chart, and we'll keep on building the other visuals. All right, so now let's build the second visual, which is the actual to forecast versus AHT. So this is the actual to forecast percentage versus AHT, where we have the actual to forecast here on the line, and then we have the AHT on the columns, as you can see here. So we can actually save some time by copying this one. So I'm gonna select it, Control and C, and then Control and V to paste here. So I'm gonna copy this one, and I'm just gonna replace the abandoned percentage. I'm gonna replace that by the actual to forecast percentage here on the line y-axis. So I've replaced it, and let's make sure to have uniform colors. So we're going to stick to the yellow on the line. So I'm going to go here to the lines. I'm going to select the color here, and I'm going to make it, I think it's this yellow. Yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna make sure to enable the data labels on the actual to forecast. So for the actual to forecast, the values are there. We just need to make sure that the color of the value is black and that the background is this yellow here with 0 transparency. So it stands out, and as you can see here, having the data labels with the same color as the series makes it stand out, makes you able to distinguish, which values are for which. So which values are AHT and which values are actual to forecast percentage. Of course, you can understand that the percentages are actual to forecast and that the numbers that are within the range of 600 are the AHT, but this makes it even easier. So, the judge of how good a chart is that you can interpret it quickly. And actually, we need to change the title as well of this chart. So this chart should be AHT versus actual to forecast percentage or something along those lines. So we're going to change the title here to be AHT versus actual to forecast percentage. All right. So this is going to be this chart here. So we've created it and the background is turned off. So as you can see here, this is identical to this one. Of course, we're going to do all the artsy stuff and create the background later. But for now, we're just creating the visualizations. All right, so now we're going to create this caption here. So to do that, we're going to need to create a measure. And through this measure, we're going to be able to extract some insights from the data that we have. So to point out, for example, the date with the highest AHT and what the actual to forecast was of it, and also the date with the highest abandoned calls and what the AHT was as well on that date. All right, so what we need to do is to insert a KPI card here, okay? And we're gonna need to create a measure, and this measure will be for our caption. Okay, so let's create a new measure and then we'll put it in a separate folder as well. So let's create a new measure first here, and this is gonna be caption-global view. All right, so for this measure, what we're going to do is that we're going to start by determining what the date with the highest AHT is, or the date with the highest average handling time. So to do that, we're going to create a variable. We're going to call it underscore date with highest AHT. So it's a good practice to start with your variables with an underscore, because then when you start typing underscore, you only get a list of your variables. You don't get measures or anything else. And to do that, we're going to use the top n function, and we're going to extract the first value or the top value through the table of the date column on the calendar table. So the values function produces a table, but this is a table of a single column that contains a list of the dates, but this will be the list of the dates in the current filter context. So it will be the list of the dates in the currently selected month, for example. This will be a list of the dates in the current filter context, and we want to we want to sort them by AHT in descending order, and also another way to sort them, we're going to sort them by date in ascending order. So this is to avoid getting more than one result. Okay, so it's to make sure we get only one result in the end, because if the HD is exactly the same, including the decimal point and everything, and this is kind of unlikely, but it's a good practice to sort by 2 columns just to make sure, you get only one result. Okay, so this is the first variable we're going to create, and then we're going to create another variable. So var, so we got the date with the highest HD. We're going to calculate now the top day HD. What the actual HT was on that day. Okay, so we compared the HT for all the dates, but now we're just going to calculate what the figure was. So we're going to use the calculate function to calculate HT, and we're going to filter for the date on the calendar table being equal to the date with the highest AHT. All right, this is going to be the AHT on that date, and this is going to be the AHT in the current filter context as well. So it's going to respect filters. I believe it's going to respect filters by the department as well. Okay. All right, and now let's also create another variable here. So let's actually just reduce the distance here between the variables. We're gonna calculate the top day actual to forecast. So what the actual to forecast was for the top day as well. So for that date that we determined through that variable, we're going to calculate what the actual to forecast was. And this is the same. So it's going to be, we're going to calculate the actual to forecast percentage here for the date column on the calendar table equal to the date with the highest AHT. All right, so this is going to be it. And then we're going to calculate the date with the highest abandoned calls percent. Okay, so to do that, date with highest abandoned calls percent. So to do that, we're going to use the top n function as well, and we're going to calculate the top, depending on the table created by the values function, which creates a table of a single column, in this case, containing the dates in the current filter context. And it contains a unique listing of the dates in the current filter context. And this will be through the abandoned, we're going to sort through the abandoned percentage or abandoned calls percentage in a descending order, and then also through the date in ascending order. So this is how we're going to sort this. So this will determine the date with the highest abandoned calls percentage, and then we're going to determine the figure itself. So highest abandoned calls percent, so what the figure was on that day. So we're going to calculate the abandoned percentage, and we're going to add a filter here for the calendar, or the date column on the calendar table equal to the date with the highest abandoned calls percentage. Actually, this one should place an underscore, so that we can get it in the list here. So that we are consistent with the names. So this is going to be equal to date with the highest abandoned calls percentage. We're going to close the bracket here, and then we're also going to calculate the AHT on the date with the highest AHT on date with highest abandoned calls percent. So this is going to calculate the AHT on that day with the highest abandoned calls percentage. So we're going to calculate here the AHT, where on the date column is equal to the date with the highest abandoned calls percent. All right, so we're going to determine what the AHT was on that day. Now, let's say we're just going to try to return here the date with the highest AHT. Date with the highest AHT. Let's say we're going to return that. Okay, but this is not what we actually need to return. We need to return something bigger, but let's say we're going to return that just to try that on our variable. So here for the caption global view, we're actually going to put it under a folder, which is, we're going to call it captions global view first. So we're going to put it in its own folder here. As you can see here, it's been put in a caption global view folder, and then as you can see here, we just returned that date, and as you can see here, it's not formatted perfectly as how we would want it to be formatted. So this is something that we need to change here. Okay, so first let's add the format function. So let's put it inside the format function here, and let's format it as dd YY. Okay, so day, month, year, like this, and then we're gonna concatenate onto that a space, and then was the date with the highest HT with an AHT of, and then space, close the double quotes. So you can see here, there's a space here, there's space at the end, and then we're gonna concatenate that onto the top day AHT, but we're gonna have to format it, so top day AHT, but we're gonna format it so that it wouldn't have any decimal places. It will be just an integer, because we don't care about the decimals. It's 636.5. It doesn't matter. It's just 636. So we don't care about the decimals that much in AHT, and then we're gonna concatenate that as well onto a space, and then end the actual to forecast. So we're kind of creating a text, as you can see here, by concatenation, and concatenating text and the variables. There is also the variables that we created of, and then we're gonna concatenate that onto the actual to forecast, the top day actual to forecast variable. So we're gonna concatenate that onto this variable, but we're gonna make sure here, we're gonna make sure to format it as well. So we're gonna format the top day actual to forecast as 0.0%. All right, so let's try that first. Okay, let's try this result here, and let's see the result. So as you can see here, it says 5/03/24. So 5th of March 24, and I think it would be better if we make this a triple M. Okay, so that it says what the. Okay, so 5th of March 24, and let's actually reduce the size here of the font. So let's make it maybe 12 or 15. Okay, so 5th of March 24 was the date with the highest AHT, with an AHT of 652 and actual to forecast of 104.3%. So you can see here that the text is starting to get generated, right? So that's a good thing. And then let's also make sure we could add a star at the beginning, right? So let's add a star. So I'm gonna press, I'm gonna put it between double quotes. I'm gonna press Windows and then dot on my keyboard. I'm gonna type star here to search for a star, and close the double quotes here, and then let's actually add a space after the star, and we're gonna concatenate that onto our statement. So let's try that and let's see the result. So now, as you can see here, there's a star at the beginning. So 5th of March 24 was the date with the highest AHT, with an AHT of 652 and actual to forecast of 104.3. Right, so as you can see here, if you check the 5th of March, the actual to forecast was 104.3, and the AHT, of course, was 652. So as you can see here, we're getting the correct result. Now, to make sure we have a space here, we can add some spaces, or we can add a space actually, which we can do by using the unichar function, which returns the Unicode character that is referenced by the given numeric value, and a space or a new line. Actually, we want a new line, so a new line is referenced by character number 10. Okay, so we're gonna concatenate that onto the unichar 10, and then we're gonna concatenate that as well onto. So I pressed Shift and Enter to go to a new line, just to try to make my code, neater. So we're gonna add a star as well here with a space. Let's say I'm gonna start my new line with a star, and then I'm gonna concatenate that onto. Concatenate that onto the date with the highest abandoned calls %, but I'm gonna format it first. So format the date with the highest abandoned calls % as dd mmm-yy, and we're gonna concatenate that onto a space, and then was the date with the highest abandoned calls % with, and the space, and then close the double quotes, and then we're gonna concatenate that onto, let's format the highest abandoned calls % as 0.0%, close the double quotes, and then we're gonna concatenate that onto open double quotes, space, and the AHT on that day was, and then space, close double quotes, and then format, and we're gonna format the AHT on the date with the highest abandoned calls % as an integer. There's 0 between double quotes, close the brackets, and press enter. And now let's see what the result for this would be. So as you can see here, 5th of March 24 was the date with the highest AHT, with an AHT of 652 and the actual to forecast of 104.3%. And then the 19th of March 24 was the date with the highest abandoned calls % with 5.6% abandoned calls. All right, so if you check actually the 19th of March, which is this one, if you check the abandoned calls, you can see here it's 5.6%. Excellent. And the AHT on that date was 643, which is what we get here. All right, so this is how I created this caption here, and we're gonna remove this title here for the caption because we don't need it. We don't need it to say caption global view. So on the callout value, I think, is it the category label? I think, yeah, this is the category label. So we removed it. So this is, the caption that I created. You could create another caption. You could be wanting to point out something else. You could create your own caption. And there's also this visual here, which is the narrative visual that you can also use to create automatic captions. But I wanted to create my own customized captions, and you can also create customized captions using this narrative visual. Maybe we can show it on another video, but for now, this will suffice. All right. So now we've created this caption visuals by creating a KPI card and by creating a measure, this measure here, where we extracted the certain attributes here, or the numbers that the most notable numbers, the dates with the highest AHT, the highest AHT itself, and the date with the highest actual to forecast, and what the actual to forecast was on that day, and so on. And we created this caption here by concatenation. All right. So I hope that was useful for you and you learned something from creating that caption. All right, so let's continue creating our dashboard. All right, now what we're going to do is that we're going to construct the drill through effect for drilling through the days and seeing the results of the intervals. So if you hover over a day, you'll see this option of drilling through to the intervals, right? So this would need us to create a page here for the intervals and set it up as a drill through page. But this enables us to drill into the results of a day. So in this case, it's the 25th of February, for example, drill through. So here, 25th of February, we'll just hover over it, drill through intervals. And as you can see here, we're able to drill through and see the results of that day, as you can see here. So we'll see the date of the day and we'll see the results on the intervals as well. Or I created a button here as well that enables us to drill through. So if you click on that button, it will actually tell you that you need to select a single data point from the date. So, to drill through into a date, you need to select a single date. So if you select a date and then click here as well, this will drill into that particular date. So anyways, we need to create this drill through effect. But before creating this drill through effect, we will need to create a timetable, because we don't have a timetable. So we need to create a time table that would contain our intervals. So this is what we're going to do. All right, so this is the finished dashboard. Let's go to the dashboard we're actually building and let's create the timetable. All right, so let's start by constructing our time table. So I'm going to go here to Power Query. All right, so to create this timetable, we're going to use some Power Query code to create it, just like we did with the calendar table. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go to New Query and Blank Query. And I'm going to go to the View tab here, to the Advanced Editor, and I'm going to paste here some Power Query code. So this will create a list of times. This M code will create a list of times that starts at the 0 time. So at the time of 0 hour, 0 minute, 0 second. And this list will have 24 elements, and each element will be separated from the other element with 1 hour. So the increments between each element is 1 hour. So if a list of 24 elements of times separated by 1 hour. This is basically the list of times of the day. So, 0 hour, 1, 2, 3, all the way until the 23rd hour, right? So this is 24 elements. So if you click on done here, you will see here that we have a list of the times of the day. So these are 1 hour intervals. If, for example, you wish to do 30-minute intervals, so you wish to analyze your day by 30-minute intervals instead of 1 hour intervals, you can go here to the code and you can edit it. You can make it 48 intervals or 48 elements in the list, and these elements will be separated by 30 minutes instead. So if you do that here, you will get a list of 30-minute intervals instead of 1 hour intervals. However, our list will be having 1 hour intervals, not 30-minute intervals. All right, so this is our list here, and then what we're going to do, we're gonna transform this list to a table. So a list is a type of object in Power Query. I'm gonna transform it into a table. And I'm gonna name this column here interval. All right, and I'm gonna make the data type a time, and this will be my timetable. So it's not a timetable as in a schedule, it's the table containing our times. So just like we have the calendar table for the dates, we have our timetable for the times. All right, so we've created our timetable. However, this is actually not enough to do an analysis by time. After creating our timetable, what we need to do is to create also an interval column in each of the fact tables that we're gonna tie this interval table to, so that we can determine which interval the time of the transaction happened. So in this case, for example, the call. So we need to determine which interval the time of the call happened in, right? So, which interval the call belongs to. So to do that, we're also going to use a Power Query formula. So we're going to create a calculated column or a custom column here in Power Query, which is the interval column. So we're going to call this column interval, and we're going to use this formula here, which is to build a time. And this time will be consisting of the hour of the time here of the call, and then 0 minutes and 0 seconds. All right, so it will extract whatever hour the call happened. So for example, for this particular call here, it happened at 11:18 a.m. So this means that the result of this part of the formula here will be 11, right? And then it's 0 hours and 0 seconds, right? So it should look like this, right? 11:00:00. This will be the result of the interval here. Okay, so if you click OK, you'll see here that the result of the first one is 11 a.m., just like we determined. And we're gonna make this a time as well. All right, so we have an interval column here. We're gonna do that to the abandoned call as well, the abandoned calls table. So we're gonna call this interval, and we're gonna paste the formula as well. So this will extract the interval, and we're gonna make it a time as well. And we're gonna do the same to the surveys table as well, which we're gonna use in the future when we create the agents report, or the agents part of the report, or the agents dashboard. So we have the survey time here. We're just gonna call this interval, and we'll need to change the time here to the survey time. Survey time. So we need to be referring to the survey time column here, and click OK. And as you can see here, we also managed to extract the time of the survey, and we're going to make this a time. We're going to do that to the forecast as well. I think the forecast already has an interval, so we don't need to do it to the forecast. And that's it. All right, so now we're going to load all these changes. So close and apply, and we should have a timetable created, and we should have these columns added to our fact tables, which are the calls and the abandoned and the surveys. So now we have a time table here. All right. And what we need to do is to connect it to our fact table. So we need to create a one-to-many relationship here. So this is the interval. We're going to connect to the interval here on the abandoned. It's a one-to-many relationship, and boom, this is done. And then we're going to do the same here on the calls table. Boom. And we're going to do it on the surveys table. Boom. And the forecast table. Boom. All right. So now we've connected it to our fact tables. And now we can analyze our data by interval. All right. So now that we made the necessary adjustments to our data model to enable us to analyze our data by intervals, we're going to create the drill through effect so that we're able to drill through our day all the way to the intervals. So to do that, we're going to create a new page here. This is going to be our interval view. So we're just going to call it intervals. And then you'll see here the formatting of the page. So if you click on format, you will see here the page information, and this is the name of the page. And then the page type, we're gonna change it to drill through, and we're gonna drill through from, and we can select, so if we click here, we can select the date from our calendar table, the date column from our calendar table. And of course, we're going to drill through when the date is used as a category. Okay, so now if we go here and if we hover over a date, any date here, you will see that we're going to get this drill through effect to drill through our intervals. And we're going to go to this page. So now we've created this drill through effect, and then we can start constructing the different elements of our drill through page and so on. But for now, we've just created our drill through effect, and we've got a back button here. So this back button can take us back to the global view. And of course, we can create a different kind of button. So you can see here, I have this button here instead of the back button. So I deleted the back button, and I have this button here that looks like a zoom out button. So this is what takes me back. It's like I'm zooming out from the intervals and going back to the days, and here I'm zooming in to the intervals of the day, but I need to make sure to select a single day here, and then I can zoom in and see the intervals of that day, the numbers for the intervals of that day. All right, so we've taken our first step here to creating the drill through effect. All right, so now that we've created the drill through effect to drill through the days and into the intervals and see the details of the intervals, what we're going to do is to create this interval view here. So after drilling through the day and into the intervals, we want to have some visuals here to tell us the statistics of the intervals, right? What the HT was, the actual to forecast, the HT and the abandoned calls percentage. We'll create this table as well. And we're going to have this label here at the top. We're going to have this label here at the top that shows us what date we're on. And we're also going to have this label, which will show us which department we have selected. All right, so let's do that. So first, I'm going to insert a KPI card, which is going to show us what date we're on. And to capture the date that we're on, we're going to create a measure. All right, so let's create a measure here to show us the date, which we're going to call, let's say we're going to call it selected date interval view. All right, so this is going to be like a caption or a label to show us what the selected date is. So let's call it label selected dates interval view. So to do that, currently we're going to have a date. So the filter context in this current view is a date. It's just a single date. All right. So we can use, for example, we can use the selected value, the currently selected value of the date. So we can use equals selected value, and then we're going to use the date column on the calendar table. So this is going to be it. This is going to be the label here. So it's the selected value of the interval view. So if we drag this, you will see here that it's going to show us what the selected date is currently. We're just going to change the formatting here. So let's say I'm going to make it, let's say this formatting or this one. I'm actually going to use this one. Okay. So it's just going to show me here the selected date. It's 31st of March 2024. This is what the current selected date is. You know, if we go to the global view, select a different date, and we just hover over it and we drill through that date. So I think we currently have maybe the 11th or the 12th of March. We have the 12th of March. So you can see here now it shows the 12th of March because it's going to show the single value selected on the date column in the current filter context. Okay, because if we drill through the day and go into the intervals, then we have a single date selected. There's no way around it. We have only one date selected. You could also use the min or max functions as well. So wrap the date column on the calendar table in the min or max functions, and this will also yield the same result. I'm just gonna also remove the category label from here. So I just want to show the date on this label. And for this measure, I'm going to put it under a folder called, let's say, labels interval view. So it's going to be put under a folder called labels interval view. And also this is for the reference labels, folder. I'm not going to put it under the basic measures. So this one is going to be under just a reference labels folder. So reference labels, this is going to be, I'm going to call it reference labels global view. Okay, so reference labels global view. So as you can see here, now we have it under a folder called reference labels global view. So I'm just trying to tidy up my measures here. So to format this label to make it look like this one, let's do some formatting. So the callout value, I'm gonna make it yellow. I'm gonna make it this yellow color here. And I'm gonna make as well, and under size and style, the background is gonna be this purple here. All right, so now it looks the same, I believe. Maybe the font size here could be different. I'm just gonna check the font size on the original dashboard that I created. So the original font value was 30, I believe. So here, callout value, yeah, it's 30 instead of 45. 45 is too big. So I'm just gonna make it 30, and I'm gonna put it here, let's say, and the first element here on my interval view has been created. All right, so now we're gonna create this label here that shows us the selected department. So I'm gonna create a measure for that. So I'm just gonna insert a measure here. Let's insert it under labels interval view here. It's gonna be a new measure, and I'm gonna paste the code. And what this code does here is that first, we're gonna check the number of selected departments, okay? So the number of selected departments will be how many rows are in the departments table in the current filter context. So, you know, when we have a department selected, then the current filter context will be, you know, 1 row, or maybe if we have multiple departments, then it could be 2 rows or 3 rows, or it could be 4 rows. You know, so all the departments, because we have only four departments, right? And the departments table has only 4 rows for the 4 departments. So we're going to create a variable to check the number of selected departments in the current filter context, which is by checking how many rows are in the departments table in the current filter context. And then we're going to check here, we're going to create a variable as a check. So this variable is going to give us true or false, and the result of that variable is going to give us true or false. So we're going to check if the number of selected departments is equal to all the rows of the departments table without any filters applied. So we're going to apply the all function on the departments table to remove any filters on the departments table. So then if we count the rows, it's always going to give us 4. Right? So this value here is equal to 4. So we're checking if the number of selected departments is equal to 4, then this will be true. The value of this variable, which is all departments selected, will be true, right? Otherwise, it will be false. So now we're going to check if the value of the all departments selected is equal to true. So if it's true, then give me all, because this means that all the departments are selected. Otherwise, concatenate the departments that are selected or that are currently in the filter context and put a pipe symbol between them. So this is what I'm doing on this measure here. All right, so let's press enter, and now if we just copy this this KPI card here, and instead of adding this label, we're gonna add the selected departments instead, okay? So now it says all because here there is no filter applied on the department, right? But if we apply a filter here, billing for example, and then we drill through, like for any date, we just drill through here to the intervals, you'll see here that it shows billing. Now, if we on this slicer, we change the basic settings here on the slicer so that it's not a single select. So it can accept multiple selections. So let's say I selected billing and general inquiry, okay, at the same time. And then I drill through here on any day. You will see here that now it says billing and general inquiry, okay. We could go ahead maybe and reduce the font size maybe from 30 to maybe 25 just to reduce the font size a bit. But I mean, you get the idea. Now it says billing and general inquiry. If we add more new connections here, for example, then if we drill through, it will say billing, general inquiry, and new connections. So it will tell you what departments are selected. But if we select all of the departments, now, right now, we have all the departments, okay? So it says all. This means that all the departments are selected, okay? And of course, this table is going to be dynamic because let's say we added more departments. The departments table has 6 rows instead of 4 rows. Then the formula or the measure here for the selected departments is still going to work. Okay, so if you have 6 departments and you have all the 6 selected, so you have all the departments selected, or you don't have any filters at all, which means also that all the departments are selected, you're gonna get all. Otherwise, if you have 5, for example, you're gonna get all the 5 departments with a pipe symbol between them. So this is how this measure works, basically. All right, so now let's continue creating our interval view. And let's create this chart here for the AHT versus the actual to forecast. So to do that, this is going to be a line and clustered column chart. And we're going to add our intervals from the time table here. So our intervals on the x-axis, right? So because here we have the intervals, as you can see here, on the x-axis. And then we're going to also add the HT and the actual to forecast. So we're going to go to measures. Let's go to basic measures here, forecast, and we're going to add the actual to forecast percentage. So this, actually we would want that to be on the line y-axis, and then on the column y-axis, we're going to put our HT. All right, so as you can see here, now it's starting to form up. Let's just make some small changes. So we're gonna click here on our chart and then go here to the format. And then first, let's start by removing the legend's title because we don't need it. And let's also make the legend position here on the top center. The legend is on the top center. And also for our line, so for our lines here, we're gonna make the color of the line, we're gonna make it this yellow here, this yellow color. Okay, and let's add some data labels as well. So for the data labels, let's start with the HT series, which is the purple series here. We're going to make the background this purple color with 0 transparency. And for the value, it's going to be white so that it stands out, as you can see here. And it seems like we haven't chosen the correct shade of purple. Actually, it shouldn't be this one. It should be this one, actually. Okay, for the background. So now it's the same shade of purple. And also, let's do the data labels for the line chart, or for, the series of the actual to forecast. So for that one, we're going to make it black. We're going to make the values black. And for the background color, it's going to be this shade of yellow, which is the same shade of yellow as the line. We could also change the overall title of the chart, maybe HT versus actual to forecast. And we don't need to say by interval, maybe just actual to forecast percentage. We don't need to say by interval because it's pretty obvious that it's by interval. And we could also on the x-axis, let's just remove the title because we don't have to have it say interval because it's pretty obvious that this is the interval, right? And we could even remove the title for the chart because it's already clear on the legend that this is the actual to forecast. So like we could remove the title altogether like this. And actually no, not delete it. We could just untoggle it like this. Okay, so now we remove the title altogether because it's pretty obvious that this is the HT and this is the actual to forecast. It's pretty obvious from the legend, so we can have it removed. We could also remove this AHT title here on the y-axis because this is also obvious. So we'll go to our y-axis. Where is our y-axis? Here it is. Let's remove the title from the y-axis. Okay. And let's also remove any grid lines. Let's just make it cleaner. So I'm just going to search here for grid lines. I'm going to let's remove any horizontal and vertical grid lines as well. I think this looks cleaner. And so yeah, so this is how you can create this chart here, which is the HT versus actual to forecast chart. So as you can see here, this is the same chart. We're gonna do the artsy stuff later, as I told you, creating the backgrounds and all, but you know, for now we've created this chart. All right guys, so now we're gonna construct this second chart here, which is for the HT and the abandon calls. So we can actually just copy this one, and then we're gonna remove the actual to forecast percentage, and we're gonna add the abandoned calls. So here under the abandoned percentage, we're just gonna add the abandoned percentage here, and we're just gonna make the line yellow, just like the other one. So here under the lines, we're just gonna change the color to the yellow color, and for the data labels, we're gonna choose the abandoned percentage, and we're gonna make the values black, and the background we're gonna make them yellow with 0 transparency. And that's it. Now we have the same colors here, but now this chart is for HT versus actual to forecast, and this one is for HT versus the abandoned percentage. All right, so you can see here that gradually, step by step, we are moving towards, you know, having the same view here. All right, so now let's create this table visual on the right. So we're gonna start by inserting a table visual here, and we're gonna add the interval from the timetable, and we're also gonna add the calls answered. We're also gonna add the HT, and let's also add the abandoned percentage and the number of abandoned calls. So the percentage of abandoned calls and the number of abandoned calls. And let's make the style the minimal style. This is what I did. You could create a different styling, of course. Styling is a personal preference thing, so you know, everyone can do a different styling. And let's go to the values, and for the values, I'm gonna make the text white, and the background, I'm gonna make it this purple. And for the alternative text color, I'm also going to make it white, but let's do something different from the picture. So in the picture, they were all the same shade of purple. I'm going to make it like a different shade of purple there to stand out a bit, so that we would have some sort of alternation there. So as you can see here, this is looking pretty good. And for the column headers, I'm gonna make the background this brown color, and I'm gonna make the text white. And let's make it bold, and let's increase the size of the font to 12. Okay, and let's also align everything to the middle. And let's also apply conditional formatting. So on the screenshot here, we have conditional formatting applied here. And we also have, we also can apply conditional formatting here as well, because I think I forgot to apply it here, so I'm just gonna apply it as well. But let's actually do the grand totals first before applying conditional formatting. So I'm gonna do the grand totals, or the totals here. So I'm gonna go down to the totals. The totals will have a white text with a black background. So this is what I've done here. All right, white text, black background, and I think I increased the font a bit to 12. So this looks good. Let's make it 11 actually instead of 12. All right, this looks good. So this is our table visual here, and I'm gonna start also applying the conditional formatting. I'm gonna start applying it to the AHT first. So for the AHT, we're gonna go to cell elements here. We're gonna select the AHT as our series, and we're gonna apply the conditional formatting. So we're gonna go to the font color here, or apply it to the font color based on a field value, and we already have the conditional formatting measures created, right? We created them earlier when we applied them to the card visual on the global view. So I'm gonna apply the conditional formatting based on the CFAHT measure that I created that basically dictates the rules of the conditional formatting. So you can go back to earlier in the video when we created this visual here, we applied the conditional formatting here. So we explained that earlier in the video. Okay, so applied conditional formatting to the AHT. Let's also apply to the abandoned percentage. So let's select the abandoned percentage series here. We're gonna go to font color and field value, and we're gonna apply conditional formatting based on the CF abandoned percentage. And now the conditional formatting has been applied as well. Now let's also make sure that the values are middle aligned. So we can go here under specific columns. So you'll see here an option called specific column. You can select the interval, and let's also apply the same to the totals. So I'm gonna align them to the middle, and we're gonna do that as well to the calls answered column. You can see here they're being aligned to the middle. The HT column, the abandoned percentage column, and the abandoned calls column as well. We're aligning everything to the middle. And let's also make sure we apply that to the total, apply to the total as well, so that the totals as well are being aligned to the middle. And what I want to do as well is to apply conditional formatting to the values here in the totals, but I can't find an option to do so. I can't find an option here to apply conditional formatting to the totals. So if someone knows where the option is, because I can't find it right now, and I couldn't find it earlier. So if someone knows where it is, or maybe there is no option on the table visual to apply conditional formatting to the totals row. So if someone knows where it is, please tell us down below in the comments. All right. And there is actually one more thing. You see this blue border, we could remove it. So this is probably under the grid. Yeah, so under the grid here, on the column header, there's a blue border here. Let's make it white instead of blue. And let's maybe thicken it a bit to 3. This looks better. And then for the total section, there's a top blue border. I'm going to make it white. Maybe we could thicken it a bit as well. This looks good, not bad. So that's it. This is the table visual. You could make it a bit different if you want to, but this is pretty much how I created it. You know, of course, you could have a different taste. You could make it look different. It's a personal preference at the end of the day. All right, so now let's start creating the artsy stuff. So let's start creating the background and creating the buttons as well for navigation between the different pages. So we'll start by opening PowerPoint. So let's open PowerPoint. Just open a blank presentation. like this one. And we'll make the slide layout actually just a blank slide like this. And then let's make sure to save it as well. So let's save it somewhere. So I'll just give it the name call center dashboard dash background. So this is going to be the name that I'm going to save it with. And now the first step we're going to do here is to create the background, to create this gradient color background. So what we can do is we can right click and go to format background, and we're going to make it a gradient fill, and we're going to use actually a bit of a light color gradient. So this so because I created the gradient earlier with the colors, so what you need to do is to use the colors in your color palette. So here are the colors in my color palette, so I'm just gonna extract them here. So usually what I like to do is to make the middle area a bit of a lighter color, and then the area in the corners here a bit of a darker color. So I'm going to use this purple here that I extracted from my color palette. So it's actually already done or set up here because I used it earlier in PowerPoint, and apparently it just kept it. And then I'm also going to use the lighter blue color. So I actually used the lighter blue color here. It wasn't part of my color palette, but it just chose this lighter blue. And here's the color. Here's the color code for it, or the hex color code for it. So you can use a different one if you want to. But I used this lighter blue, and I thought it looked good with the purple. And then so this I used it here, and here I think I used the same color as well, or a bit of a different lighter blue. So this could be different from one person to the other. This is how I did it, and the angle was you could make it 60 to 70 degrees here, and then at the end it's also the purple color as well, and it's a different shade of purple. This is the shade of purple I used. So this is how I arrived at my background. So as I told you, I keep playing with it. It's a bit of an iterative process, but usually what I like to do is a lighter color in the middle and a bit of a darker color in the corners here. Okay, then I'm gonna insert a shape here. I'm gonna insert a shape. It's a like a curved corner shaped like this one. So it's this one here, what the rounded corner rectangle, and the size of the shape is so after doing some trial and error, I did the height 17.5 centimeters, and even if your computer measures in inches, if you just type centimeters, it will do it exactly as you have it here on the screen, and by 33 centimeters. So type centimeters here, even if your computer is in the American system inches. If you type centimeters, you will get the correct one, and you can just make it in the middle here. So you can, as you can see here, you will see these lines, these ruler lines that are going to tell you that your shape is in the middle. And let's remove the outline of the shape, and let's make it a lighter color actually, and it's going to be a shade of my purple. So let's select my purple, but then I'm gonna go here to more fill colors, and I'm gonna make it a lot lighter, as you can see here. This is what I've done, and so I'll show you the file where I created my purple. You can see here my background. This is the file. This is the final file. So this is what I did. It's a shade of my purple here, so that it matches well with my background. So this is what I've done, and let's also reduce the rounding here. So if you click here on this yellow circle, you can reduce the rounding like that. Click and drag and hold, and you can reduce the rounding this way. All right. So now let's also, create the placeholders for the different visuals and slicers. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy the shape in the middle here and paste it, but then I'm gonna reduce its size, and for now, let's make it a darker color so that we can see it, you know, as we're dragging it. But then we're gonna change its color later. Or actually we could you know, not make it a darker color. So I'm gonna keep pressing Control and Z, but it's gonna be difficult to see it. But then we can make a shape effect, which is to give it a shadow effect so that it stands out a bit. So you could do that as well. I mean, this way it stands out. There's a bit of perspective to it, and you're able to see it. Okay, so first we can make this placeholder here for the logo. Okay, so it's a small placeholder for the logo. So its size, so I kept on playing with it, and then at the end was 1.64 centimeters by 2.21 centimeters as well. So this is what I arrived at the end after a bit of trial and error. So I'm just trying to save you time here. I don't want to do the trial and error and the whole iterative process on video, but this is what I arrived at. I'm just gonna copy this one as well, and I'm gonna expand it here to have my year slicer. So you can see here, this is my year slicer. It shouldn't take that much size. So here, this one is going to be also, you know, 1.64, so it's the same height, but then it's 9.77 centimeters here. So this is what I arrived at the end. And then I'm going to make another one here for my months slicer. So I'm going to copy it here. And this one is going to be what? 1.64 by 17.35 centimeters. Okay, so this is what I've done, and then eventually I just aligned them here and distributed them horizontally. This is basically what I've done. And then let's create the placeholders for the rest of the visuals. So we're going to create the placeholder here for this KPI card, for example. So let's copy one of our shapes here, and let's make it, let's say, this one all the way to the right. And the height of the one I created, so the height of the one I created was 3.38 by 29.64. 3.38 by 29.64 centimeters. This is what I created for my KPI card. So it's actually this one. Okay, so this is a placeholder I used. And then we could also use a placeholder as well for the slicer that we have here. So we could create a placeholder. So I'm just going to copy it here. And for this slicer, the placeholder for it I created was 10.65 by 4.49 centimeters as well. So we need to make this a bit closer. And yeah, so this is what I've done. So this is where we're going to put the slicer here for the different departments. You could also reduce it a bit. You could make the slicer buttons. You could reduce the space between the slicer buttons. So I believe we reduced them actually on the new one. So yeah, I mean, or we haven't reduced them actually, but we could reduce them. So I think this is actually on this layout option here. It's going to be a grid, but then the space between the buttons, just make them 0 or 1 or something, so that. And actually, I think we need to adjust the settings here for these buttons. So we'll adjust them later. But I mean, if you reduce the space between the buttons, you could reduce this placeholder as well. And we're going to test it, and then we're going to make changes. We might make changes. So it's as I told you, it's a bit of an iterative process. You don't always get it right the first time. So anyways, I'm just going to keep it like that. So I'm going to keep it at the original one here, 10.65 by 4.49. All right, so now let's create the rest of the placeholders for the other visuals. So I'm gonna copy this one here. I can press Control and C and then Control and V, or I can press and hold Control and just drag like this, and this will copy it as well. And we're just gonna add a placeholder here for this donut chart. So for this placeholder, I've done a bit of trial and error, and the size of the placeholder was 5.59 by 11.3 centimeters. So this was the size of the placeholder here. And we're gonna create the other placeholder as well. So I'm just gonna copy it, press and hold Control. So I'm just gonna copy it, press and hold Control, and then drag here. As you can see, so I've created the other placeholder. It's about the same size almost. So if you check that, so this one was 5.59 by 13.3 centimeters. So after doing a bit of trial and error, this was the size, or you could reduce it a bit so that you can have space between visuals. So that's fine. And I'm just gonna copy it here to create the placeholder at the bottom, and the placeholder as well here, and another placeholder here. Press and hold Control and then copy and drag, to copy. And that's it. We have 4 placeholders here for our visuals. Alright, so now let's create these navigation buttons on the left. So to do that, we're going to insert a shape here, and the shape will be this one here that says rectangle, top corners rounded. So we're going to insert that shape, and you can see here that the top corners are rounded here, but then we need the shape to be like this. Need the rounded corners to be to the right, to be pointing to the right, and the sharp corners to the left, basically. All right. And after doing some trial and error, the height of that will be 4.57 by 1.57. And actually, I think we need to do it the other way around. So after trial and error, 1.57 by 4.57. All right, so now we have it like this. So this is our button here, and I'm gonna color it so the shape fill will be our purple here, because on the first page, this is what's selected, right? So this is gonna have the dark color, and then the other two are gonna have this light color here, the light purple, because they are not selected. So this one, because it's selected, is gonna have the dark color. I'm gonna also insert an icon here, okay? And this icon, I'm gonna search with globe here, and I will find this icon here. So either this or that. I chose this one. I'm gonna insert it, and I'm gonna color it in white, so the fill of the graphic will be white, so that it stands out a bit. Okay, so this one. So let's make sure as well that this graphic, let's arrange it so that we would send it to bring it to front. Okay. Bring it to front, make it in the middle. Let's also make this and this. We're gonna make them grouped so that they move together. Okay, so let's say it's like this. Okay, so this is it. This is the shape. We could reduce the size of the globe a bit, the globe icon a bit as well. So like this, make sure that they are aligned to the middle of each other. So this one is aligned to the middle as well. Select them both and then group them again so they move as one unit, and that's it. This is the button here. Okay, and what we're going to do as well is to create the other buttons. So let's just align it as well to the top a bit, and let's create the other buttons. So this button as well, but for now here, we're gonna ungroup it. We're gonna remove the globe icon as well. And we're gonna make it a much lighter color actually. So maybe, so here, just gonna make it a lot lighter like this, maybe. And as you can see here, we have a one with the lighter color, maybe even more lighter, a lot lighter like this one. All right, so now we have this button here. We can also copy it and we'll make a bit of a smaller button at the bottom for zooming in or for the drill through for the interval view. Okay, and maybe we could actually make the borders as well, or the outline, we could make it this dark color as well instead of the black. Maybe this could look good as well. So feel free to style the buttons as you like. I think this one should be having a black outline instead of the same color outline. This one is black, the other ones are purple. That's okay. I made it actually in the original one, I made them all black, so feel free to do whatever you want. I'm just doing a different style this time, but you get the idea basically. Okay, so this is where the buttons are, and what we can do then afterwards, we can also let's make sure to select them all. You know, press and hold Control and select them all and align. We're going to distribute them vertically like this so that they look vertically distributed. So let's make sure as well they're all the same width as well, just about 1.73, 1. Yeah, I mean, I think 4.57, 4.57. This is not 4.57. So I think, or is it? Yeah. So let's make sure that that it's aligned with the other two. They are all aligned together like this. But yeah, I mean, these adjustments can be done. And let's make sure to align them again as well. Distribute them vertically. So they're looking good now. Let's insert this agent icon that looks here. Or let's actually, let's insert this agent icon. So let's insert an icon here. Let's actually search by people, and I think we're gonna find it here somewhere. Or maybe customer service. I don't remember what I searched with. Customer service, phone. Yeah, this one. So this is the one. So I inserted that one, and a blue and a black one looks good here. So maybe you could reduce its size a bit. Okay, and just make sure it's in the middle, and you can group it here. So you can group it with this one, and then let's also insert the other icon here that is for the zooming, right? So zoom, and let's insert the zoom in icon like this. So here's the zoom in icon. Reduce its size a bit, and let's make sure, okay, it's aligned, and let's just group it as well with this one. All right, so this looks good. So now we can copy this view so that we can create also the one for the agent view, and we can copy it for the interval view. So for the interval view, we can just duplicate this, okay? And then we're just gonna remove this one and this one, right? And here, we're gonna ungroup them, okay? And we're gonna remove the zoom in icon and change it or exchange it, you know, for the zoom out icon. So here is the zoom out icon instead. And, you know, you could make it the exact same size later. But yeah, this is pretty much the idea here. Let's make sure, let's just select them both, shape format, and we're gonna align them to the center, to center them together. Okay. Basically, that's it, and we're gonna group them. Okay. So this is it, basically. All right. So yeah, this is it. This is how you can create that view here. And, if you click here, you should go to this view. So this is the interval view here. And then we can divide it, as you can see here. So we can create something here on the interval view, we can create one for the label at the top here. So after doing some trial and error, this was 2.48 by 6.98 centimeters. This was the label here, and then another one here, 2.48 by 14.79. So this one, 2.48 by 17.49. Or actually, that was 14.79. I apologize. 14.79 by 2.48. So that's it. This is the one for this one here. And then let's remove the other ones. Let's remove all these. So I'm pressing and deleting. And we're just going to copy this here. And we're going to make some placeholders here for the different visuals that we have. So here, this one will be 5.41 by 16.91. So this is, after trial and error, you could keep on trying and see what the best size is for your visuals and stuff. But I'm trying to save you some time here on the video. So I'm also gonna copy this one here, and this one will be a placeholder for the visual on the bottom, 6.38. So this one is what? So the width is 16.91. Yeah. So this is 6.38. Yeah. So like this, and maybe move this up a bit. So yeah, and we want to leave some space here at the bottom. So yeah, this looks good. And then one more for the table visual. Let's make sure it has the same, it shares the same, bottom borders here, and maybe also the top borders. Yeah. So this is going to be for our table visual. Maybe it would increase its size a bit. We'll see how it goes, basically. And let's make sure we could also, distribute these three at the top horizontally like this. So this looks kind of good here. Looks good. It's a bit of an iterative process, as I told you. So we might go back and adjust these, but this looks okay for the interval view. And then we could also duplicate this for the agent view later to create the buttons of the agent view. So the buttons of the agent view here are simple, because so let me go back to the original dashboard that I created here. So for the agent view, we're going to have a button here for the global view and another button here for the agent view. And you'll see here that this one has the dark color, so that, when you click here, this one becomes dark and this one becomes light, because you're now not on the global view, you're in the agent view, which we're going to create later. Okay, but maybe we can do that next time. So, I mean, because on the next video, we're going to create the agent view, so maybe we can do it later. But yeah, I told you what the idea will be. All right, so this is how you can create your navigation buttons as well. And we're now ready to add these backgrounds to our report and finalize our report. All right, so now we're gonna save our backgrounds and start applying them to our dashboard. So we've created our backgrounds here in PowerPoint. Let's save them. So to save them, we're going to save them as a JPEG file. So I'm going to select here my slide. So this is a background for the global view. Press Control Shift and S on my keyboard. And I'm going to navigate to the folder that I need to save to here. And I'm going to call my file background global view, because this is the background for the global view. And I'm going to save it as JPEG file, and I'm going to save here. And it's just this one. I want to save just this slide. And then I'm going to also save the background for the interval view as well. So select it, press Control Shift and S here, and navigate to the folder. And then we're going to save it as background interval view instead of background global view. This is the interval view. Make sure you're saving as a JPEG file as well, and save. And it's just this one. Okay, this third one is the background for the agent view, which we're not going to tackle the agent view in this video. We're going to tackle it in the next video, because this video is like part one of our dashboard, or creating the global view and the drill down for the intervals. So we're going to do the agent view next time. We need to actually make this dark, like a dark purple like this one, and then make this one a lighter purple. We're going to do that on the next video. All right, so we've saved our backgrounds. Let's apply them to our Power BI dashboard. So here under the format, so after selecting anywhere in the page, going to format, this will basically show you the formatting for the whole page. We're gonna go to canvas background, and we're gonna browse for the files. So this one is the background for the global view. We're gonna select that, double click, and the transparency will be 0. And now you can see here that it's starting to format. So we're going to make sure that our shapes here are put inside these placeholders that we have. Okay, as much as possible. We might need to make some adjustments later, but I mean, they're looking good right now. This one might need us to increase the size a bit, but it's looking good. Okay, and this slicer will be put here inside this placeholder, and this one as well inside this placeholder. So yeah, looking good so far. So good. Okay, so starting to look the same as the one we have in the screenshot, as you can see here. So yeah. Okay, and we can adjust this slicer as well, and let's also adjust this one here. Let's remove the background from this one. So size and style background, let's remove it and adjust it here. And this one as well, we're gonna adjust it to fit in this placeholder. We're gonna adjust as well this one to fit in this placeholder. And for this, we can we need to actually adjust this one, this slicer, so that it looks better. So I think, yeah, actually it's already adjusted now. It's working. So you can see here, when we select it, it becomes a black background with white text. When you hover over it, it's a purple background with white text. And then when it's not selected, there's this golden brown with a white text. So it's good. It's looking good. You might need to do some slight adjustments on the background later, but for now it looks good. It looks almost the same as in the screenshot, as you can see here. Let's also add the logo. So I created a logo. I created this logo using Canva. This logo, I created it using Canva, and I just did some adjustments to it. So if you would like to subscribe to Canva as well, I'll leave you a link down below in the description. But yeah, you can insert an image here for the logo. So I'll have the logo included as part of the files as well. But yeah, I created this logo using Canva, but you can create it using other tools that have, you know, free pictures and stuff on the internet. So yeah, so this is the logo here. So as you can see here, it's looking good, looking almost the same as the one we created. And yeah, this is how I created this. Now for this visual, actually we don't want it to be filtered by this slicer. For the calls visual, we don't want it to be filtered. We want it, let's say we want it to always show the breakdown of the calls across all departments. We don't want it to be filtered because, you know, there's no point of telling me that this is 100%, you know, so let's make it this way. So I'm just going to select this slicer here, edit interactions, and I'm going to disable the filtering here. So now, you know, it doesn't get filtered. And as you can see here, it's working. All right, so now let's create the button that we can press here to take us to the interval view. So the drill through button. So to do that, we're going to insert a button, just a blank button. And you can see here, it's been inserted here. And we're going to make sure that this button covers, you know, properly covers this one, the shape with the zoom in button there. And then for the button style, we're going to remove the border of the button. We're going to keep it as an icon. And, you know, you can also adjust here, you know, what the icon type is. It's just going to be blank icon here. We could reduce its weight. Maybe we could do that if you want to, so that it doesn't have any borders at all. And then the most important thing is the action here. So you need to turn on the action and make sure that the type of the button is a drill through and that the destination is the intervals. Okay. And I think when you do that, something happens here. So it seems like it's a bug or something. So what you need to do is to actually select the button and then here under the size and style, I think under the button style, you will go to the fill and you turn on the fill and you turn it off again. That's all you need to do. Turn it on and turn it off, and it will be a transparent button like this. Just make sure it covers this button here in the background so that you're able to press it. And now if we press it, if you highlight it, actually it will tell you to drill through the intervals, select a single data point from the date. So you need to select a single data point from the date, and so any date here. So now you have a date filter, you know, all your data is filtered on a date, and then when you click by holding control and clicking, you know, this will zoom into the interval view here. Okay. So now we've created this button here. Later, we'll also create a button that takes us to the agent's view. So this is going to be on the next video. But for now, we've created this drill through effect here. But as I told you, you know, when you hover over it, it will tell you to drill through the interval, select a single data point. So it's very important you select a single data point here, date data point, and then you click here. So of course, you know, on Power BI desktop, you need to press and hold control before clicking, but then when you publish the report, you won't need to press and hold control. All right, so that's it. So next, we're gonna do the background for the interval view as well. All right, so now let's do the background for the interval view. So I'm just gonna select anywhere on the page on the canvas and then click on format and then canvas background, and we're just gonna navigate to the image. So we want this background for the interval view, and we're gonna make it 0 transparency. And now you can see here that we have this background here, so we can now just adjust the visuals to the background, as you can see. And you know, you could do more formatting if you want to, but this is pretty much the basic idea. For this one, we need to remove the background. And for this one as well, remove the background. And probably for the table visual as well, we'll need to remove the background for the table visual. So yeah, so we're just gonna adjust here these visuals to fit into the placeholders, and that's it. You know, this is we're currently finalizing this view, as you can see. For this one, we could remove on the y-axis. Let's just remove the values on the y-axis because we don't need them, and here also the values. So what we had here, you know, and yeah, pretty much that's it here. So you might want to increase the placeholder, increase the size of the placeholder for the table if you want to. So maybe we can increase its size a bit. So we could do that. So I'm gonna go back to my PowerPoint actually, and yeah, we could increase its size a bit here, like this, so that it fits the table better. Okay, I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna navigate to the folder, and let's make sure it's actually this one. So I'm just gonna save it over the one that I created, and then I'm gonna insert it again. So this one here. So now we could give the table a bit more space. So yeah, that's it. This is how I created it, and also I'm gonna insert the logo here. And this button has been created automatically when we created the drill through. So we don't need this button actually, because we're gonna make this one zoom back. So I've deleted it. I've selected it and deleted it. Clicked on delete on my keyboard to delete it. And I'm gonna navigate to my logo here. I'm gonna insert it, and the logo will be in the practice files. So don't worry about that. You're gonna be able to download all the files from the link below in the description. So yeah, I've inserted the logo here as well. You know, you could do some adjustments here and there, but this is pretty much it. And actually, there is no line here for some reason. There's no abandoned percentage. All right, so it seems like it was a bug or something. Seems like it was a bug. So this is why this one was not showing any lines. And actually, I think the line should be on the secondary axis. So I think on the secondary axis, you need to show the values. Yeah, so you need to make sure you're showing the values on the secondary axis so that the line is on the secondary axis, okay? So there was a bug and the line was not showing, but now I just closed the report and reopened it again, and the line started showing. But then you need to make sure as well on the secondary axis that the values is turned on so that the line is on the secondary axis and not on the same axis as these values. Because if it's on the same axis, you will see it, you know, down there because it's on the same axis as 600 and something. So 7.7%, which is 0.077, for example, is on the same axis as 600 something, you know, so it will not appear. It will be really down there. Right, so you need to make sure to turn on the values on the secondary axis. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What we need to do as well is to create a button here. So to create a button on a blank button here, and I've inserted a blank button, and we can actually just copy the button that we have here. Actually, just copy it. Let's just copy it, okay, so that we can you know, save some time. And the action will not be to drill through. It will be actually a page navigation to navigate back to the global view. So that's it. I mean, if you just click on it, this will navigate back to the global view. And then if you select a date here, make sure to select any date through this chart or this chart, and then click here. This will drill down to that particular day. So you can see here, For example, this date selected here is the 9th of March. Click here, you'll see the date here is the 9th of March, right? And you will see also the same departments that we have selected. So I've explained that at the beginning of the video as well. So that's it basically for the part 1 of the dashboard. We've created this global view. We've created a drill through view as well for the interval view. So that's it for the first part. We're gonna continue next video actually and create an agent view and maybe a view for the team managers, you know, to check the performance. So I'm still kind of thinking about the view, how it's gonna look and designing it. So you know, stay tuned for the next video. I hope that this video was useful for you. I hope that you're learning something, and you know, that I hope that by the end you will have a great project on your portfolio. All right, guys, so that's it for part 1 of this dashboard where we created the global view and the interval view as well. So if you felt like this was useful, please make sure to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with all future videos. And also, if you found this helpful and you would like to thank me by buying me a cup of coffee, we have the thanks button activated. So if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee as a thank you for this video, that would be really appreciated. And we're going to continue creating this dashboard in the upcoming videos. So I'm not sure if it's going to be part 2 and part 3 or just part 2. We'll see how it goes. And if you'd like to take a look at my previous dashboards as well, I have a dashboard for an insurance company. I'll leave you the link down below. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.